Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the chamber. Tonight is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Land Use Committee. I'm Andrea Kelly. I'm the chair. We're going to get going. I'm going to introduce first the Land Use Committee members who are in the room. From Ward 1, we have Councillor Allison Leary. From Ward 2, Tariq Lucas. I'm from Ward 3. Randy Block is from Ward 4. Is Andrea online? We don't right now have someone from Ward 5. From Ward 6, we have Alan Lobovitz. From Ward 7, Mark Laredo. And from Ward 8, Stephen Farrell. With us also, we have important staff members. We have our clerk, Scott Matthews, sitting right here. And online, we have from the Planning Department, Kat Kemet and Joe Iadenisi. We have Katie Wewell from the Law Department. We have Jonah Temple. Let me just see who Councillor Maliki, who's not on the committee, has joined us. And I will continue to welcome and introduce other people as they show up, either from staff or from City Council. So our first petition tonight is number 125-24, which is a request to exceed FAR at 50 Brayland Ave. Do we have someone? Would you come up to that podium and turn the microphone on at the base and introduce yourself by name and address and tell us what you'd like to say about this petition? I'm not sure we can hear you. Not yet.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Block, our technical assistant for the evening.
It's always a bit intimidating to go first. So this project is, it's the special permit is kind of made necessary by the topography of the place. It's a very sloping area, both in the side as well as back. So with the new ordinance, a significant part of the basement gets added to the FAR. In fact, the relief that we are requesting is less than the amount that gets added to the basement due to the new FAR regulations. That is part one. Go ahead.
Are you Mr. Patel?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself.
And is your address 50 Brayland Ave?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So that is part one. That is the topography of the place necessitates the special permit. The second part is this project has been worked since the last year, and due to some back and forth with the engineering that got missed, we exceeded the deadline that we came into the new year of 2025, where all of the new ordinance got applied. So just to recap, the primary reason for the relief is the topography of the place. Apart from that, this house fits in the neighborhood in terms of both the massing, the FARs, the characteristics, and so on, as the planning memo outlines. That's all.
Okay. Do you have any slides or anything to show us? Any plans or?
Apart from what I have submitted, no.
No, but nothing to show tonight.
I can show from the website.
It's okay. If you're not prepared to do that, it's fine.
Yeah, I can pull it up in response to any specific questions that I can answer.
Okay. Thanks. I didn't want to preclude you the opportunity to do a full presentation as you wanted. So
Thank you.
great. And I'm happy you'll be here to answer more questions. Thank you. Let's go to planning to hear a little bit more about this.
Good evening, Joe Iadenisi from the Planning Department.
I will share my screen. This is petition 125 25 for 50 Braylon Avenue, which is a request to raise the existing dwelling and construct a two-family dwelling exceeding the maximum allowable floor area ratio. This is a look at the neighborhood context, which is just directly to the south of the Newton Center Green Line Station. And as the petitioner and the planning memo have pointed out, the lot itself, as well as the area, is quite sloping with about a 12-foot upward slope from the front front left corner to the rear right corner. That's important in this context. As it is in multi-residence 1, the two-family dwelling use is allowed by right, and the only item of relief needed is for the floor area ratio for this project. The criteria to consider is that the specific site in multi-residence 1 is an appropriate location for the construction of a two-family dwelling, resulting in a floor area ratio of 0.59, where 0.51 is the maximum allowed. That the use as developed and operated will not severely affect the neighborhood, that there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians created by the construction and use, and that access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, and that lastly, that the proposed two-family dwelling that exceeds the by right floor area ratio is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood. And that concludes my presentation for now.
Thank you, Mr. Iadenisi. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to this, either in the chamber or online? If you're online, raise your virtual hand or wave at us and we'll find you. I don't see anyone. Kate Dryzos? Am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Kate?
Hi, Kate Drizos. Yeah, my concern, or I'm not sure if it's a concern, but as a neighbor of that space, the property is very poorly maintained by the owner at present, and I'm just concerned that an exception is perhaps not warranted if someone's not taking care of what's already there.
Thank you. Can you just give us your address, Ms. Drizos?
I would rather not, but
Well,
in the same neighborhood.
at a public hearing, we do ask for people to give their name and address. And if you don't want to, you can still say no, but that's a typical way to get your comments on record.
Okay, I'd still like to say no. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. I don't see any other hands up for now. If there are other members of the public who would like to speak as we talk this through, while the public hearing is still open, try and catch our attention and I'll be happy to call on you. But at this time, then we'll take it into the committee and hear from Land Use Committee members. Councillor Farrell.
May I, through you, ask the developer a couple of questions, please?
Mr. Patel, would you come? I think he's the owner, not a developer. Is that correct? Great.
I visited this property the other day. The first thing I will note is that the photograph that is in our plan is significantly different from the landscape as I understand it at 50 Braylon right now. Unless I'm looking at something that my colleagues might correct me on, there is a very old and handsome Japanese maple in the front yard. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that does not show on this picture.
Sorry?
This does not show on that picture. On the picture that we have from the planning department.
I believe it might be on the side.
Well, my question is about that this street is lined with mostly houses of the same period. And am I accurate in understanding that this house was preferably preserved by the Newton Historic Commission?
That is correct.
And that the reason for that, I believe, is because it was in contemporary design with most of the other houses on the street, which are quite handsome. The design, what I was curious about and hoping to see is some of the pictures of your proposed design for this house. Because I don't believe in what I've seen that it fits into the theme of the street, which I would hope that you would reconsider. But since I don't have any documents to prove otherwise at the moment, but as I say, the street is tree lined in front of the houses. All the houses are a similar period. And from what I have seen, your proposal does not really fit in with that design. Now, that may just be me, but it's of concern to me. And this maple tree, which is significant, and helping to keep the street in a certain period, I would hope that you would consider preserving it. Now, I don't know whether that's any part of what we can do, but it is in the theme of the neighborhood. And what you are proposing is of concern to me. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments, but given that I don't have any other pictures to refer to at the moment, those are my comments, Chair, for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. I'd like to welcome Councillor Downs, who's joined us virtually on Zoom from Ward 5. Mr. Iadonisi, do you have any images, whether they're plans, elevations, or renderings or photos of what this will look like from the street?
I will share the elevations, which are cited in the draft order. This is a look at the front elevation. As this is a two-family use, there typically aren't landscaping plans conditioned as a part of this use. So any particular trees on the site are subject to the tree ordinance, but are not necessarily going to be a part of the condition plans at this point, at least in our draft. As you can see, it's a side-by-side design with two dormers on top and two front entrances, as well as single-car garages in that front, reaching a maximum height of 33.5 feet. Then a look at the south elevation, where you can kind of see generally, this is from architectural, the grade is done by the architect, not the surveyor, so it's not necessarily going to be exactly right to the finest specification, but the grade generally does reach just about the back bottom of that first floor. And as you can see, you have 2 floors, 2.5 stories exposed there, with sliding door exits for each unit. And a look at the side elevations. This would be the right or eastern side, where you can take a look at one of the units there. You can see the large dormer on the top, some skylights along the roof line, and lastly, a look at the west or left side, where you can take a look. Generally, the same idea as far as the design is concerned, with both units, with that open patio space in the back as well, for this particular unit.
Thank you, Mr. Iadonisi. So as part of your analysis package, you don't have any like Google Earth images of what it looks like, or a site plan or a landscape plan?
I can share the site plan.
That might be helpful because the site plan
Absolutely.
sometimes shows vegetation. Go ahead, thank you.
Sure. So this is a look at the site plan overall. with that 33.5-foot height in there, which is from the existing. The proposed elevation is 35.4. So there is some site work going on, but the overall effect of that is fairly minimal. You can see the proposed grade in those thick black lines and the existing grade in the dashed lines. Generally looking at a leveling or along the back and along the side more to get the slope to kind of go from the rear to the front as opposed to kind of coming in from the side there with some minor retaining walls less than 4 feet, not requiring relief on either side of the front facade to allow those driveways to have room to reach that first car garage. Then generally you can see that side-by-side look of what the buildings are going to look like with them being slightly offset from each other. One thing to point out as you see the site plan is it does kind of have a narrow, it does have a non-conforming frontage. It gets a little bit wider at back, which makes it a little bit difficult to find different designs that keep within the zoning ordinance, but they've at least minimized everything except for the floor area ratio. As always, we would like them to comply with that as they can, but otherwise they meet all the setbacks. No particular vegetation is shown as being planted versus remaining. There are some of the trees located on the plans, but as this isn't a landscaping plan, and it's not necessarily conditioned at this point, then I'm not certain whether or not those are scheduled to remain or not, based on the petitioner's plans.
Thank you. Counselor Farrell, I want to go back and make sure you're all set with your questions.
Thank you, Chair. I understand all of the technical points that were just made, but I think if one of the things that we would like to do in Newton is to maintain some neighborhoods, and that this design does not reference even the house that you see in the picture as a style, and which is reflective of what I think most of the buildings on the street are. And I am really concerned about stripping the front yard of the vegetation that also defines the neighborhood along that street. And in particular, maybe I should blame my wife for this, but this is a very beautiful Japanese maple that's quite old, stands in front. And I think it's a shame. It, again, exemplifies the kind of neighborhood that this is in. So I just state my concerns, and I would certainly appreciate if the developer would reconsider the design of the front. I'm in favor of the two-family, perfectly fine with me. But I just think it should be more reflective of what exists. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Counselor Farrell, I see Mr. Patel has his hand up, so would you like to respond to some of that now?
Yes. But one is we had been working with the Parks and Recreations about the trees, and the trees, including the Japanese maple and especially the front tree line, that would get removed. That we are going to be replacing that as much as to the same extent. That is part one. Part two is to your concern around the facade and of the overall design. We would be welcome to suggestions and onto specific areas that you would like us to consider. But from the historic review, I recall it was about almost 3 years ago. There were just a few arches of the porch that were key areas for the concern. So we can look at those to see how we can integrate those in the porch designs of the current new ones.
I may, Chair.
Sorry, one more point. And as Ms. Kelly pointed out, I'm the owner, not the developer. So
Does that mean you're living in the house or you're going to be living in the house or what?
no, but we're the owners. Me and my
But
wife.
you're not going to be living there.
Not the resident.
So that's why some people may think you're a developer. You're developing the house and selling it to someone else, not for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Counselor Farrell?
Thank you, Jay. Just saying replacing this maple is not the same as maintaining it. And it will be, as it is right now, a great screen for the new home. And I would hope that you could protect that.
I can definitely look into moving it on the same place.
That would be, as I understand it, you know better than I, Chair, but moving a maple
Yeah.
like this, a Japanese maple like this would be a huge.
I
project.
know. I
Yeah.
mean, I love that.
I've made my point, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the trees as well. I don't like to cut them down to the extent that I can.
Well, I'm going to remind everyone that a public hearing is not a time for a back and forth discussion, but I appreciate you being able to answer Counselor Farrell's questions directly. And some of us may get back to the Japanese maple issue or the layout. Let's
I can
move
speak with
on.
you later. On-
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next speaker, which is Counselor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is helpful to see a visual rendering of the house. I was wondering if Mr. Patel had spoken to his abutters and his neighbors about what he's doing and talked to them about the new proposal. If he could speak.
Yes, please. We are always interested in that. Was there,
Uh,
Could you speak
About-
into the microphone, please? Yeah.
Yes, about a year and a half ago, when we sent out notes to the abutters, we had conversations with a few abutters about what we are planning to do and how we're doing it.
Were those the neighbors at 52 and 46 Brayland?
I don't recall top of my head.
So that was a year and a half ago?
Yes.
Did they-
When we started the process
Okay.
and send out the letters to all the abutters. Go ahead.
Did you get any feedback from them?
No,
Did you show them the plans?
no, it was a telephonic conversation.
I'm sorry, I didn't
It was a
understand.
phone conversation.
It was a phone conversation. Okay. And they didn't ask to see the plans or anything like that?
No, at that point, we had just sent out the letter saying that we have plan to demolish this and build a two-family construction.
Okay. Could I ask planning, did notices go out for this evening? I mean, I'm wondering if since they have, okay. There's a couple of things. I wanted to ask planning if there were any code violations here at this property, since we did hear from someone who was concerned about the condition of the existing home.
I will take a look at the page in NewGov, but that's typically something we tend to focus more on what the future design is and how it relates to the zoning ordinance rather than any past behaviors of abutters or residents. So I'll take a quick look and see if I
Okay.
can find anything on OpenGov.
I just thought I'd ask since it did come up. Are there any significant grade changes here? I know that from looking at the topographical map, there's a significant change of grade. It is on a hill. I'm just wondering what the house would look like in comparison to the neighbors. And particularly, let me just go back up to it. One of the side setbacks goes from 25 feet down to 8, and one of the other, I think the rear setback goes from 65 feet down to 23. I wanted to get some idea of how that looked like. in terms of this, the house will be, it's significant, it appears to be significantly more massing than what's there now. And I do understand that it's only the FAR that we're we're looking for relief only on the FAR. That's correct, right? Okay. Those are my questions for, one other thing in terms of, it is a very wooded area on there. And I'm wondering if there's going to be other tree removals in order to build the project. And if you've talked to our tree warden.
Yes, the tree warden has reviewed the plans. To go back, this project started about a year and a half ago as a by right project. So in that, we had gone through the tree warden, engineering, all the plans have been gone through. And at the last minute, when in November, when we filed the building permit, we were told that, oh, you don't meet this retaining wall ordinance because the engineering overlooked that. So then we had to go back to the drawing board and redesign the project. So the short answer is tree warden, engineering, we have gone through and all approvals.
So you have gone through, you've identified any tree removals already? And gone
Yes.
through that?
Yes. Removals, replacements, all of those.
I noticed that you went through historic review and it was seen as preferably preserved. And then that was only through 2022, December 2022.
Yes.
So it's been 3 years since it was, so 2023, it would have, gives you a year, right?
That is correct. So the demo delay would have expired on 26th December of 2024. So when I reached out to Newton Historic, they said that is correct, but there is a state law which extends all the expiries during COVID by 2 years. So we are in compliance and we don't need another demo delay.
You're saying COVID delayed the work on the site? Is that what you're saying?
No.
I'm having a little trouble
Yeah.
understanding.
I reached out to Newton Historic to see what is the process for asking another demo delay. And the response I got was, and this is all on the Viewpoint Cloud, the response I got was, there was a state law which extended all the expirations of the permits ordinances by 2 years. So whatever was expiring, and that 2 years extension applies here. So actual demo delay will expire in December 2026 instead of 2024.
Okay. Those are all my questions for now.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep track of the things that we're not quite clear on. And that's one, I was not aware that the Newton Historical Commission had done that and that demolition delays were automatically extended an extra year. I will just say this before you speak again, if you don't mind, because I
Oh, no.
have the floor. Some of these questions in terms of outreach to neighbors, letters from tree wardens, letters of approval from engineers, some of these pieces of documentation would be very helpful to be part of the submission packet because I'm sensing that we're all a little vague on some of this. I think it would have been helpful to have a landscape plan. I'm just mentioning that now there are still more comments to come, but if you're taking note of comments that are made tonight, these are some I'm noting so far.
Thank you. The plans I submitted were the ones that were approved, were the stamped approvals of engineering as well as wardens. And the note from the Newton Historic about the delay that I also have uploaded on the Viewpoint Cloud as a part of the package.
Okay, and the tree. So anyway, we don't have to do everything one-on-one. Councillor Leary, are you all set for now? Mr. Iadonisi?
Just wanted to backtrack to answer. There are no requests for zoning enforcement on this property. And additionally, the tree permit application shows the removal of that one Japanese maple, but the planting of 4 total Japanese maples as a replacement.
Thank you. Mr. Temple?
Thank you, Chair. I can also answer the question about the permit extension. So a state law was passed in November 2024, known as the Permit Extension Act, and that did extend, it added 2 years to any permit that was in effect from January 1, 2023 to January 1, 2025. So that would apply to the demo delay that was issued here and would extend it 2 years.
Excellent to know. Thank you very much, Mr. Temple. President Laredo.
Thank you. So I have a few questions for planning. One, when was the DRT held for this, if one was held?
We had 2 separate DRTs. The first one was showing those retaining walls that were in excess of 4 feet. I'm going to pull up our tracking to see when
Sure.
the dates were. There was one, okay, so November 20th, 2024, as well as February 19th, 2025.
And was the petitioner, was a suggestion made to the petitioner to reach out to the neighbors?
We make that suggestion every time, so I'm sure we spoke to him about that.
It's noted in the notes for this one, though. I can confirm that.
So you didn't reach out to the neighbors after these DRT meetings?
After no, because we had reached out to them before as a
even
part
though
of the by right.
Even though they suggested to you to do it, you didn't reach out?
No, because we had done it already before.
Well, if they suggested a meeting, I suggest that you want to take that advice. But I want to follow up with planning on some numbers here because I'm a little bit confused and you can maybe explain for me. I'm looking at the zoning memo from Ms. Santosuzo, and it looks to me like the building is much bigger on the side setbacks. In other words, there's much less room between the boundary of the property and the building itself. It is significantly longer, closer to the setback in the rear and somewhat more moderately further away from the street, but yet the maximum lot coverage and minimum open space stays nearly the same. How does that work?
There was a garage on the previous plans that was removed, so that would contribute to there being a difference in the lot coverage. As far as open space, that driveway extended back to the garage as well. That was on the left rear, so that likely also contributed towards some of the change in open space as well.
So the building itself, though, what you're saying is because the driveway is going to be eliminated and that back garage is eliminated, that's the reason it remains roughly the same?
Yes, that would generally be about why it would be the same.
I mean, that garage does not look particularly big to me, and I'm just eyeballing it, but if I look at the garage and I look at the dimensions of the house, it just doesn't seem to match up. I mean, you have a house that's significantly wider than your existing structure. It goes, if I'm not mistaken, goes 40 more feet back into the property and is only 16 feet further away from the streets. That just doesn't, the math doesn't work for me.
Counselor Laredo, I'm just going to jump in.
Sure.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Wewell. Through me.
I'm looking at the SIPO. The lot coverage is going to 27%, and the existing
Ms.
is
Wewell, I'm having a
11.3.
very hard time understanding you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, my internet is also a little glitchy, so I just wanted to confirm your assumptions on the lot coverage. The site plans show that it is going to 27%, whereas the zoning review memo looks to have an error in it at 16.1%.
I understand what the numbers are on the page, but logically, forgive me, I'm not an expert in the field, but I'm not following it. This building is significantly larger than what exists currently. The garage is a pretty modest structure. And yet that doesn't seem to be accounted for at all on either of these numbers. I'll leave it at that. I'm not following it.
Counselor Laredo, I'm not sure if my message came through, but I think you're right, is that the lot coverage on the zoning review memorandum that you were referencing is wrong. The site plan shows the lot coverage increasing to 27%, whereas the zoning review had it at 16.
So what you're saying, the zoning memo is incorrect?
Yes, there was a
All
typo.
right. Well, I'm not going to be prepared to vote on anything until I have a correct zoning memo with correct numbers. And I realize you didn't do this, Ms. Wewell. While I have you, what's the rationale for increasing the FAR here? This is a brand new project. Other than the developer wants to do it, which is a rationale, what public policy favors it?
Is this a question for planning?
It is.
He's directing this question specifically towards you, Ms. Wewell, as
Yes,
I heard
thank
him.
you. When we review a special permit application, we narrow in more on the criteria than public policy, especially for a project of this scope. I think a lot of the policy work is done in the zoning and planning committee. So applicants are allowed to exceed the FAR under certain conditions. So I think the planning memo spells out what those criteria are. And, we looked to other buildings in the neighborhood that, looked to be similar in massing. They all have this topography condition where the sites slope upwards from the front of the street. A lot of the properties are set really high up above the grade. So I think it's the neighborhood conditions and the criteria that we look to. On larger projects, we may look to the comprehensive plan or other public policy documents. But I think for a single family home, that work is done in the zoning and planning committee.
But this is a two-family home.
Right. I mean, it's a by right use. They're
It
just
is the
looking-
by right use, but again, if this was an I don't want to mean to go back and forth here. This was an existing structure and someone said, I really can't do what I'm trying to do if I don't get the relief. I'm obviously extremely sympathetic to that. We routinely grant those. Where I'm struggling here is we have a recommendation or statement from the planning department. There's no concerns about this, but there doesn't seem to have been any effort to try to build within the requirements. So can I ask the petitioner, why didn't you build within the FAR?
So this project, the first engineering department memo application we filed in May. Engineering took until September, almost October, to approve it. After engineering approved, I'm talking about 2024. After engineering approved, I submitted the building plan. At this time, this project, exactly as it is, was by right without any FAR request relief. I go to the building department. They said, oops, engineering missed the retaining wall ordinance. So we cannot approve it. Engineering incorrectly approved it. So now in November, we are struggling to redesign, and all the ordinance changes that are coming on Jan 25th, which are the primary cause of the FAR exceeding, are caused by the delays to the engineering. That is part one. So if this project was approved on 31st December of 2024, I would not need any relief.
You're saying you wouldn't need relief for FAR?
If this was approved on,
Is that correct, Ms. Wewell?
because all the increased FAR in the basement comes from the new ordinance, which says you have to now measure the basement height from the existing grade, not proposed.
Oh,
And-
because you would have built up the foundation, so you wouldn't have counted. And we close that loophole. Okay, I'm
Hello.
all set, Ms. Wewell. Thank you. Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
I'm going to try and streamline things a little here because I feel like the back and forths are all over the place and we have many more things to discuss tonight. I have several other counselors who want to speak and I have 3 members of the public, including another city councilor. What I would like us to do, I'm feeling like there are too many uncertainties. I'm going to guess that this is not going forward tonight. You might prefer to have it be held than voted against, just a thought. I would like for the counselors who are going to speak and for the public who are going to speak, try and hone in on really key issues that this owner, developer can think about and we can work towards for our next meeting. I think there are too many questions for tonight. Who I see next, and I do see some members of the public. I've been going in order and I appreciate that your hands are up, Ms. Belleville and Mr. Garner. And Councillor Maliki, because I took it into committee, I'm going to go with Councillor Block first, who had his hand up next, and then Councillor Lobovitz, whose ward this is in. And then if you still have important matters that you want to be sure to get on the table tonight, and Miss Drizos. Unfortunately, we really hear from members of the public once and you've already spoken, so I'm not sure I'm going to get back to you unless you have something really new and important that you didn't have a chance to talk about first. Right now, I'm going to get a Councillor Block and remind everyone to try and be very concise and hone in on in what ways can we help move this forward in terms of answers and resolutions and clarifications and or plans or visuals that we're going to need next time. Councillor Block.
Thank you, Chair. I will keep my remarks brief, especially since we are aiming to hold this, and so we will have a subsequent conversation when it returns to us. I want to just mention that I think Councillor Farrell's line of questioning about the street presence is very important. It isn't just the landscaping, it's also the structure of the house which currently exists and which was preferably preserved. And I think maybe for the next meeting, I'd appreciate planning sharing with us their views of the historic nature of this structure and how the proposed new structure fits in with the other houses on the street. So not just an FAR comparison, but a more qualitative view. And I did just want to say about neighbors, I hope that they will all receive another notice. If they received a notice a year and a half ago, which I wasn't quite sure whether that was the sequence, but that's a long time to have opinions and then follow up with us. I personally did speak to one other neighbor on the street, and she seemed to be interested in making a comment. She was going to be traveling today, so I could understand that she's not here. But let's make sure we get the neighbors notice. Thank you very much. That's it.
And whenever we run into people like that, we should be sure to remind them that they can submit their comments via an email if they can't be here in person on Zoom or in the room.
This was that information was
Perfect. I
provided.
had a feeling you would have done that. And my understanding is that the first notice, the first time there's a public hearing, that notice goes out and that the city does not resend notices. Scott, do you? Yes. So no, I don't think they will be noticed again. And it's a problem that some of us have with the system, especially when such a long period of time has gone by. But Mr. Patel, we definitely are always looking for neighbor outreach when we consider an issue, even though you tried it years ago. Councillor Block, anything else?
So thank you.
Councillor Lobovitz.
So I'll be brief as well. I think everybody has touched on the concerns that I have. encouraging the owner to reach out to the neighbors, to have a new conversation with the design in hand, so they really understand what this is going to look like or proposed to look like, and the concern about the design fitting into the architectural feeling, I guess, or aesthetic of the neighborhood, that street. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll probably come back to you for a motion when we've heard from a few more people. Let's go back to the public. Ms. Belleville, you've been very patient.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mary Lee Belleville, 136 Warren Street. I concur that this should be held. There's just a lot of unanswered questions. And it's really concerning that there's like a discrepancy, a 16% FAR to a 27% FAR. It's a typo, but I'm not sure how this kind of got this far without that being caught. I agree with the comments about reaching out to the neighbors, because if I heard Mr. Patel correctly, he said they didn't get any feedback from the neighbors before. So I don't know how effective that was, but I definitely think that should be required to happen before it comes back. And then the last thing I'll say is, to me, it looks, I joined a little late, but it looks like the existing house, it does not exceed FAR. This is zoned for a 2-family, so I don't really understand why a special permit is needed here at all. To Councilor Laredo's point, this is new construction, so it could be designed and built to be a 2-family, which, everybody's wanting more housing, and a single family now, and it could be a 2-family, but it certainly could be done within the constraints of the current zoning without the need for a special permit. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Belleville. Next, we have Wes Garner. Mr.
Good evening.
Garner, you're up.
Thank you. My name is Wesley Garner. I'm a direct abutter. I live at 48 Brayland, directly next door. So I thought I could shed some light onto some of the comments that were raised tonight. First and foremost, regarding the proposed design of the building, it would be a significant departure from the current architectural style of the street. Number two, I can co-sign Ms. Drizos's comments around the current condition of the property. Currently, Mr. Patel has had a number of subletters who have left the property in significant disarray. At any one time, there might be as many as 8 cars parked in the backyard on the grass. Right now, there is one, in addition to a number of trash on the backyard. And then third, in terms of direct outreach to neighbors, the woman that Councilor Block referenced was my wife, who is unfortunately traveling. We have attempted to get in touch with the developers. We have not been able to. We had to pull the plans from the town website. So we would greatly appreciate increased engagement and discussion with current neighbors to understand our concerns about the proposed plans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garner. All very reasonable requests. Councilor Maliki.
Thank you. Quick question, then a longer question or comment. Is the maximum height of a building 35 feet or 36 feet?
The maximum allowed by right is 36.
Okay, all right, because I saw those 35 in fractions. All right, had a question regarding, and now I'm looking at the tree permit application material in NewGov, and it's also visible on the one of the plot plans in the special permit application. There appears to be a 24-inch tree just over the property line on the property of number 52. And I'm not clear how that would be protected, given that on the special permit plan, there's one retaining wall. On the tree permit application, there appear to be 2 retaining walls. on that side, and one of which seems to be on the property line. And I guess one question is that wall on the property line going away?
Counselor Maliki, do you want an answer for this right now, or is this one?
That could be something, right? I guess when they come back for your next session, explain in particular how a 24-inch tree that's just over the property line would be protected, and also the document in the tree permit file for the tree protection plan. It's from Tree Tech, which is a good company, I guess. It talks about, for example, it's more like we're going to have a plan, but it's not actually the plan. It says things like establish protected zones around each tree based on its size and species, taking into account critical root zones and canopy drip lines, which is correct, but there's no diagram that shows what those protected zones would be, especially in reference to that 24-inch tree on the next property over. So I'd certainly want to see the questions like that addressed.
Thank you. Do you have any comment about the removal of the existing Japanese maple in the front and its replacement by 4 other trees?
Well, if it's a healthy tree, I think they should try to preserve it if it's in a location where they can do that. I don't know if there's a way to rework the driveways. Just a general comment on the building itself, as other people have noted, with new construction, I think they ought to be doing it within the FAR limits, even if the lot has grade changes.
Thank you, Councilor Maliki, and I love your virtual background. Mr. Iadonisi, did you want to say something more at this point?
I did want to confirm Councilor Maliki's statement that those retaining walls might be removed. Those are going to be removed from the proximity right along the property line where that 24 caliper inch tree is going to be, along that right front section of the property. And instead, just along that right side of the driveway, there's going to be a retaining wall that is about 3.5 inches, and it's going to be set back somewhere between about 8 and 9 total feet from the property line, which would be a little bit of added distance, so maybe about 9 feet from where that tree is. But we certainly defer to Mr. Mark Welsh on any sort of tree protection matters. Just wanted to confirm that, since there was a previous site plan on that tree protection plan.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, it seems like there's the promise of a plan, but the plan isn't actually there. And what would be relevant, how deep the wall would be under the ground, because 9 feet within a 24-inch tree is pretty close. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Maliki. I'm going to ask 2 questions. One is very quick and can be answered now. Another you can put on your long list, Mr. Patel, of things to follow up on or address next time. And I realize that this is probably a frustrating evening for you, given how long you've been trying to do something with this property. When you spoke repeatedly about we want to do this, we'll do that, are you in a team? Do you have an architect? Or who's the we?
Well, we is me and my wife.
Oh, and have you hired an architect for this?
Yes.
And who is that architect?
That architect is, sorry.
Okay, later you can give that information, because I don't see signs of that in here. And my other question, which relates to architecture or site planning or layout, which you don't have to answer now, is can you explain to us why you have done this sort of skewed off-center when people are talking about the relationship of the structure to the neighborhood? I don't think we need to build replica Victorians in a neighborhood like this, but this house is very different. And it's not just in the look of it, but it's in the orientation of it. And I understand that you have a small frontage, but could you explain either now or later why it is angled like that, which is very unusual and different in the neighborhood? Was it just trying to meet setbacks, or what was the thinking behind that?
The initial design was straight, and if the engineering error wouldn't have happened, If the engineering would have caught the retaining wall error up front and not until November, it would have been a straight one. The reason all of this had to be done is because of the new ordinance of the measurement of heights from the existing grade rather than proposed, which applies to this lot because it slopes every which way significantly higher.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty familiar with the sloping that happens on Brayland. It just, you know, there are so many reasons why this looks so different, if not out of place in the neighborhood. And part of it for me as a site planner and landscape architect is why is it oriented that way? So I just wanted to ask that. I assume you've been taking notes, and I think as we move forward, you and planning and we, the land use committee, can coordinate around what could be addressed more fully and differently next time, starting from the top. I think that many of us had difficulty envisioning because there was a lack of, you know, renderings or plans that would show us what this was going to look like, including even photographs of the existing conditions showing what the house looks like or what the tree is. The neighbor outreach, I think, is very important. And some of the other questions that have come up, and there will be good notes. Mr. Matthews is a great clerk note taker for you to follow up with some of these other things. At this point, unless there's anything more to be said, I'd like to go back to Councilor Lobovitz for a motion.
I move to hold this item and keep the public hearing open, please.
Let's move on keeping the public hearing open just first. Voice count. All in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
That sounds unanimous. And the next motion is to hold. We can do this on a voice vote too. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous too. We'll see you again. Wow, that was almost an hour. Okay. The next item is number 126-25, which is a request to further increase non-conforming FAR and lot coverage at 100 Bellevue Ave. Are you Mr. Zeitels?
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ivan Hernandez. The owners of the property, Dr. Steven Statals and his wife Maria, are here with me this evening. The proposal is for a detached two-car garage on the existing lot. And as you said, we are seeking relief for lot coverage and FAR. We also have an existing building height violation that is obviously existing. I'd like to share my screen if possible to go over the drawings.
Go ahead, thank you.
Thank you very much. This here is the existing site plan of the property. The property address is 100 Bellevue, obviously, and this is Bellevue Street right here on the right side of the screen. And then on the lower, it's a corner lot, intersects with Claremont Street. The proposed garage is over in this area here of the lot on the Claremont side. This site plan is the proposed site plan. This here shows the location of the garage where it would be placed. So again, two-car, we would be entering from Claremont Street, new paved area, and into the garage. As I said earlier, 5-foot distance from the house to keep that conforming. We meet the setbacks, obviously. The proposal, in order to meet the open space requirement, is for removal of portion of driveway on the back of the house in order for to keep again the open space requirement under or in according to the regulations. I'm going to just go over to the next screen here. This here gives you a better idea or better view of what's being removed. Right now, we have this paved area back over here, which is this blue area. That's going to be removed. The current driveway enters on the property next behind the 100 Bellevue. It's on trying to see the number 15 Claremont, and the driveway extends back this yellow area and then connects with this blue area. So it's one large paved area. Again, the area being removed is just this area up to the property line. This yellow area will remain intact. The new paved area is shown over here, circled for the driveway. And then this pink area represents green space that will remain green. This current paved area will be turned also to green space on the lot. So this will now become just grass and green area. This here is a floor plan and elevations. I think I'll go over the floor plan first. Basically, we have the two-car garage, carriage doors that open out, two windows on each side, and a egress door on the back. Basic garage layout. This is the front elevation of the garage, the proposed garage. The current house is has a stone exterior facade, so we like to match and blend in with the current house by again creating a stone exterior on the garage, and then incorporate the wooden carriage style doors. Also adding some additional architectural details. We're also adding a hip roof to the garage. We felt would blend in well with the surrounding structures on the lot. This here are some photos showing the where the location of the garage would be. This here is if I was standing in the kind of at the intersection of Claremont and Bellevue. This here shows, this red area shows the area of the proposed garage and where it would be. This here is a view from Claremont on the right side photo, where the driveway would enter the garage. Where the driveway opening to the garage would be off the street. The picture below gives you a more direct head-on view of the apron at the street or sidewalk area coming off the street over to the garage area. So basically, it's this area right over here where the actual structure would stand. And then this here is actually a view from the current driveway, which again extends back, and then back over this area is the area of the driveway, current driveway that's being removed. The property line is approximately at this location right over here. That's pretty much the overall scope of work for the proposed project. I'd like to see if some point if you have any questions or anything else can help you with.
Thank you. Just a quick clarification question before we move on. The existing driveway that you're going to remove and replace with a new one is not on this property?
The existing driveway that's being removed is back over here, a paved area. This driveway here is existing and will remain. So a portion of that paved area will be removed.
As you were showing us that the property line was beyond the scope of that. So you're removing a driveway, replacing it with another one, but the driveway you're removing all or part of is not on your property.
Right. Correct.
So it's not really a balance of impervious. So go ahead. Who are you, sir?
I am the owner. I'm Steven Zeitels, and my wife
Great.
is there.
Welcome.
So I've never been to a meeting like this. I go to a lot of meetings in Mass General, but I got an orientation what's important to being in the city. We moved here 20 years ago and it didn't have a garage because sometime probably 4 decades ago, they split the property up in an odd way. So the property next door is it was probably a gatehouse. The driveway is not being touched to that. It was a common driveway to come around to the back of the house. And what Ivan did was create the green area. So that driveway stays there, and this is a small driveway to get in. I am incredibly sensitive about the architecture. I own lots of stick-leaf furniture from when I was a teenager in my 20s. We had to find a house to fit the furniture. So we've been very careful, everything from the cobblestone matching it, because I didn't want a monstrosity in front of this old, beautiful house. So everything we're trying to do is, in fact, I went and got Ivan and the other folks copies of Stickley's Craftsman Homes so they could read it to understand what we wanted to do with the small garage, to literally not have happened what I discussed. It looked like it belonged there, but in a modern era. So we've been there for 20 years, sometimes almost slipping on the ice trying to get in the house. I'm getting a little older now, so I'm a little more conscious about these things. So in essence, the Claremont was part of this, and the carriage house was made into another house. That's the reason it's a large property on a small lot. So, take suggestions. The other issue we had is the trees are falling down, and they've fallen onto cars on Claremont, fallen across Bellevue. This is old growth, and it's really dangerous. These things are like coming down. So when it comes to that, we love all that, but there's a point at which there's actually a danger, and you can see it in the rotting stumps. So anyway, that's.
You can take care of the trees. That's not a hard thing. I just want to be clear, and maybe I'm just being dense. What we're looking at here is a yellow driveway off Claremont, which you're using now, you're not going to use. You're going to do the new driveway with the new garage with a new curb cut off Claremont. That driveway will exist, but you're not using it?
No, it'll be for Claremont. In other words, you won't need to use it anymore. Sorry. Yeah, the plan is that just be a grass area. Not going to use it. It's part of Claremont.
So you are taking it up?
No, it's staying there. We're not disturbing the Claremont entrance. You see, the property splits where he has the green up there. That's driveway. That was an extension when they cut it up years ago. We don't need that anymore because the driveway is going to be right in front of the small garage. Is that clear? So everything that you see in yellow is not part of Bellevue. This address, it's part of the Claremont, the next property.
But you're using it now or not?
Yes, sure.
Okay. It's staying, you're not going to use it.
In the
You're
future.
creating a new driveway. The colors and your description of colors is different than my visibility of colors. What you called blue,
Yeah, I think
I see is.
well, I'm a surgeon.
called
I
pink,
think he's colorblind.
Okay, enough of that for now. We're going to get to a lot of questions as we take it into the committee and the public hearing. We haven't heard from planning yet. Thank you, but I'm glad you're both here to answer questions. If you're all set, we're going to go to the planning department for their report, their update. Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Iadonisi again. I will share my screen and go through the planning presentation. This is petition 12625, which is a request for 100 Bellevue Street to remove an existing driveway and construct a one-story detached two-car garage with a new driveway, further increasing both the non-conforming floor area ratio and lot coverage. I'll look at the area, which is pretty close to Newton Corner, nearby Center Street and Newtonville Ave, where you have a decent amount of older historic homes of a similar size to the one at 100 Bellevue. The zoning relief needed is just for those two items where they are proposing to increase the non-conforming floor area ratio and non-conforming lot coverage. There is no existing or expansion of the existing building occurring in terms of the primary building on the lot, the dwelling. The only work requiring relief here is the work for that two-car garage as proposed. The criteria to consider are that the proposed increase in the non-conforming floor area ratio from 0.54 to 0.57, where 0.33 is the maximum allowed by right, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood, and that the proposed increase in non-conforming lot coverage and non-conforming floor area ratio is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure is to the neighborhood. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Iadonisi. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment or ask questions about this, either in the chamber or on Zoom? Giving you a second or two. If not, we'll take it into the committee. Councilor Leary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to be clear, not to beat a dead horse about the driveway, but is there going to be a new curb cut?
Yes, correct?
So
Yes, there will be, yes.
is the curb cut on Claremont or Bellevue?
I'm sorry,
Is the curb cut on Claremont or Bellevue Street?
on Claremont.
Claremont.
So there'll be two curb cuts?
There'll be 2 curb cuts, yes.
Yes.
Is the existing driveway, is that an easement in there? Does your neighbor have any rights to it? I mean, that's a similar thing that goes on in that neighborhood.
I'll have to
Process.
let the doctor answer that.
It's an easement. There was a wonderful old woman who lived there for probably 50 years. So my wonderful wife kept her alive. So we purchased that property next to it. It is a completely separate driveway, but when they split up the house, who knows, 50 years ago, that driveway became part of that, and there was no garage. So there was just that curved into Bellevue and Claremont. So that's all there's been. So that other driveway is part of the other property. And it was an easement that was there for decades to get into the back of the house.
Right, very similar to your neighbors across the street when the carriage house was changed from a big stable, right?
I don't
At 90.
wander very much around the neighborhood.
Oh, you know, okay. So you're essentially, you're not, so one of the curb cuts will remain, but you're not going to be using it.
Yeah, it's part of
And
the
then
property. Yeah.
next to it, you'll have a new curb
It's a
cut.
parallel, yes.
So I guess I have a legal question, maybe this is for our legal department about, just to make sure it's clean, I just don't understand if it's an easement, if your neighbors would be using it or, so,
Right now, I mean, the neighbor is us.
They own the
We,
property.
when she passed away,
okay,
because I didn't know all the rules and she asked, her children said, do you want it? Because it was part of this house originally.
okay.
this
So there's no other
structure was-
party involved, that's what I was asking.
No party, no, it's us.
Okay. Well, those were my questions. I want to say, I think it's a lovely design and I think it fits really well into that lovely neighborhood. It's one of my favorite walks because it's a big hill, right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leary. Councilor Lucas?
Thank you, Chair. I'm confused. I think a lot of people are confused with this proposal. And I understand it's just a driveway. You're not tearing down a home. You're not going to put up some ugly building or whatever. It's unofficially a historic neighborhood and you want to keep it that way. And I respect that. But this driveway stuff is driving me crazy. So is there a curb cut in a driveway off of Bellevue? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does that driveway continue on to Claremont? Yeah. Okay. So that's one driveway that has 2 curb cuts, one on Bellevue, one on Claremont already, and that's in the front of the house. I'm looking at the site plan right now.
Whichever you consider the front. on each side.
Sure, corner lot. Now, I can also see from the site plan that you are proposing a new driveway off of Claremont.
Because it's part of the other property zone. It's the same
Yes, the answer is yes.
So there's going to be a curb cut and a driveway off of Claremont. Okay. What are you using for building materials for the driveway?
Presuming we were going.
Ca- Can you speak into the
Microphone,
mic?
please.
Sorry.
I was presuming we were going to do it the exact same way it was before, which is these cobblestones then leading into asphalt. From the aesthetic standpoint, take all suggestions, because for me, the aesthetics are super important. So I don't have any particular, and at this point, we are probably as interested as much as anyone to make this look right. So it's not like trying to do something on the cheap. We want it to look right, right? We live there.
Yeah, yep, okay. Yeah, I would, are cobblestones a permeable paver?
Like I said, I'm a neck surgeon. I don't know about this stuff.
You don't
so,
know?
It depends on how you set them. They most certainly can. It looked like you're using that driveway that is sort of yours or not yours next door. Cobbles as the apron, and it looks to me like they're just set in sand or stone dust, in which case that would be considered permeable, and you could continue that and it would be permeable. If you were to set them in mortar, it would be impermeable. So it depends on how they're set. And what you do beyond that, you're saying asphalt, there are other materials that you may hear suggestions of tonight to maybe make that be a permeable surface.
I'm okay with anything.
So I'm gonna recommend you use a permeable paver or a surface for your proposed driveway off of Claremont. Okay?
Sure.
I want to go further down Claremont because I'm still confused on that yellow thing on the side that we saw on the site plan earlier. That yellow that I'm looking at right now on the site plan, is that your property or your neighbor's property?
Next door. It's part of Claremont, the 15 Claremont Street. It's not part of 100 Bellevue.
So it's not your property?
No.
Okay.
Well, it isn't. Yes, it's not our property, but we happen to own it now. But it is a separate registered property.
Okay, and that's not, is that being touched at all with this special permit application?
No.
Okay, so just, if you go through this again, which we hope you don't, if it's not part of the application, try not to, this is my opinion, bring it up if it's not part of the application, because it just made things just so much more confusing.
Sure.
So I think I understand what you're doing. We did get an email from a neighbor, and he had some concerns regarding the pavement and the setbacks. The setbacks, looking at the planning memo, the zoning review memo, there's no relief being sought for any of the setbacks. So your setbacks appear to be fine. So I have no issue with that. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lucas. President Laredo, you had your hand up, but Councilor Lobovitz did first. Did you feel like you had something urgent to say, or shall
I'll
I go?
defer to
in
my
order?
colleague from Ward 6 if he'd like to go ahead.
He had his hand up first. Go ahead.
Again, one of the pleasures of being on this committee is that most of the time, if I speak later, all the points have been raised. So I did want to bring up the permeable issue, and that has already been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lobovitz. Councilor President Laredo.
So I want to maybe try to help my colleague from Ward 2 a little bit here. Just by way of background, I grew up on Bellevue Street towards the Pike, so I know this property extremely well from the outside. I understand this historic house. I understand you have a rather unusual kind of layout there, given that 15 Claremont is next door. In response to Councilor Leary's concern about two driveways being next to one another, A, they're two separate lots, so I don't think we should be concerned about, but two, Claremont is a really lightly traveled street comparatively, so the concerns we have with multiple curb cuts on a busy street just aren't here. Strikes me this is a very logical, reasonable design. I take it you're going to close off the driveway entrance on Bellevue Street. Is that the plan? On Bellevue?
Then we wouldn't get in the front door. We were just going to leave that. There's a carport there. So
There's
that's
a
what you-
carport there, but that's just going to be left there and you're going to get.
Yeah, we're not changing anything else. We were just going to leave that there because, bringing packages and, it goes up the front door and people
Got it.
come into the house. That was the entrance. So, yeah, we
Okay.
were just going to leave. Only thing we were going to do is what you see there. Build a small garage and the short driveway into it and turn green the area behind it that was paved.
Yeah, you have to understand the layout of the lot. It's an irregular lot because of the curve and how it was divided. So I think you're operating under some constraints here. Seems to me a very logical design. I'm fine with it. So good luck.
Spoken from a native son. Okay, I don't see any other hands up. Counselor Leary?
Just one more quick question. How many square feet is the garage?
Garage is, sorry. The garage is 533 square feet.
And I would just add with my colleagues, any amount of pervious surfaces and stone other than black asphalt would look really lovely. And it would reduce the amount of impervious surface on your property, which is always good for stormwater.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
While you have your microphone on, Counselor Leary, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, since this is in Ward 1, I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing and a motion to approve.
Thank you. Let's do a vote on closing the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Mr. Iadonisi, can you show us the conditions?
Sure. Look at the proposed findings is that the proposed increase in non-conforming floor area ratio from 0.54 to 0.57, where 0.33 is the maximum allowed by right, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood, as the non-conforming dwelling was constructed prior to zoning regulations, and there are similarly sized dwellings in the neighborhood on Claremont, Bellevue, and Fairmont. The proposed increase in non-conforming lot coverage and non-conforming floor area ratio is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure is to the neighborhood, as the increase in these nonconformities comes from the 533 square foot single-story detached garage that meets all dimensional standards and is designed to complement the existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The proposed conditions are the standard conditions in which, firstly, we cite the site plan as well as the architectural plans showing the elevation, showing the location of the proposed new driveway and location of the garage. Secondly, the building permit is subject to recording of a copy of the special permit, as well as ensuring that the plans submitted for the building permit match and are consistent with those approved plans. And lastly, no certificate of occupancy until we ensure that they are consistent plans, as well as getting a statement of compliance with condition 1, including the as-built floor area ratio, as well as a final as-built survey done by a professional land surveyor.
Thank you. Do you think it is important or matters that we put a condition in there about the driveway being pervious surface material or not? Or I'll ask that of the committee too. Yes? Could you add that? Yes, I'm seeing nods. Yes, I'm seeing many nods on committee. Mr. Iadonisi, could you add a condition that states that?
So just to recap, you would like a condition stating that the applicant shall construct the driveway of impervious materials? Is that?
Yes.
Pervious.
Okay.
Pervious, not impervious.
Oh, right.
I don't think we need to, like, I get a sense that the owner is thinking along the same lines. I don't think we need to tell him exactly what materials to use. There are lots of good choices you can find for that, and you can talk to planning or a landscape architect or someone to figure that out. But yeah, I think that that would go along with the comments that were made tonight. And the easy promise by the owner to do it. So let's just put it in writing. Okay. Ms. Wewell?
Yep, we have that note. Thank you.
Okay, then I think we can go ahead and take a vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Farrell,
Enthusiastically, aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Laredo,
Aye.
motion passes.
Good luck. We'll all take a drive by when you're done.
Thank you very much.
The next item is at 33 Fountain Street. And I'm just getting the number so I can read that into the record. It is number 127-25 to request to further increase non-conforming FAR and to further decrease non-conforming open space at 33 Fountain Street. And I see someone at the microphone to speak on behalf of the petitioner owner. Just give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barry Hardy. I'm one of the owners of 33 Fountain Street with my husband, who could not be here tonight. We are asking for FAR relief to put an expansion on the side of our house, moving out towards one of our neighbors, but still within the setback requirements, the basement, the first floor, and the second floor, to increase our living space. The other small enhancement that we're making is that we are planning to finish the third floor that's already framed and set, had been when we moved in, but that will require a dormer to be put in. I do have our architect on the line he's on Zoom to take you through the plans, but before he does that, I wanted to share just a couple of other points with all of you. The first is that we did have the opportunity to speak with all of our neighbors as part of this process. And for anyone who was interested, we did share the plans. So that was a first step. Nobody loves construction, but everyone seemed supportive of what we were trying to do. And the other piece is that while I do not believe, and Chris can speak to this, we are not a registered historic home. We are in a Victorian and are trying to keep the elements of that Victorian look and feel in the addition. So you'll be able to see that in the design.
Architect's name?
Chris from Helios Design, Chris Hosford.
All set. Chris, you can go ahead and share your screen and talk if you unmute yourself.
I think his hand is ready.
There you go.
Hello, Chair.
Yes.
Let's see, share. Okay, we are asking to extend two existing non-conforming conditions. One is open space and the other is FAR. Below here are a couple photos, the existing street view, the existing rear yard view, an existing patio where we're going to be putting the addition. Here's our proposed site plan. The project is basically 450 square foot addition on the first floor, a 150 square foot addition on the second floor, and a small 15-foot square addition on the third floor in order to make headroom for a stairway to the third floor. That's a little clearer, but here's some, the top row are the existing elevations. The second row down is the proposed changes are in red. We'd like to, this is stick style house. It had a sort of modern addition put on it. My guess is in the 90s, something like that. That was pretty different than the existing. We're hoping that in our addition, we can pull some of the language of the stick style original house onto the new addition. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, is that pretty much it, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Sorry.
But I gather you will stay on in case there are any questions for you.
Yeah, I can stay on, just answer any technical questions.
Great, thank you. Ms. Kemet, we're going to go to planning.
Good evening. My name is Kat. I'm a planner in the city's planning department.
Wait,
This is
could you start over where you're breaking up?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My internet is also very
Sorry.
bad. So,
Still breaking up.
okay.
Nope.
Is this any better?
Yes, but you
Okay,
don't,
sorry.
you don't look as nice.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet has been really glitchy tonight, so I'll see if this helps. My name is Kat Kemet. I'm a planner in the city's planning department. This is petition 12725, a special permit for 33 Fountain Street. The property consists of a 15,750 square foot lot, which is improved with a single family dwelling constructed in 1867. It's located in West Newton in a mostly residential area that is zoned FR1, as are the abutting properties, and the majority of structures nearby are also predominantly single family dwellings. There is vehicular access provided via a curb cut and driveway to the right of the dwelling, leading to a detached garage at the rear. And there are a few nonconformities on the existing site, including open space of 63%, where a minimum of 65% is required, nonconforming frontage, and nonconforming floor area ratio of 0.42, where up to 0.31 is allowed by right. The petitioner is proposing to construct an addition that is 2.5 stories onto the existing dwelling. The work will further increase the nonconforming floor area ratio and further decrease the nonconforming open space, so it requires 2 elements of special permit relief. When reviewing this request, the council should consider if the proposed increase in floor area ratio from 0.42 to 0.48, where 0.31 is the maximum allowed by right, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the area, and if the proposed addition, which will further increase nonconforming FAR and further decrease nonconforming open space, will be substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconforming structure is to the neighborhood. We had no major concerns to note here. The FAR and open space are already nonconforming in the current configuration. This area does feature other residential buildings with similar nonconformities. So while this will increase those 2 nonconformities, if approved, it will not be a significant outlier in that respect. And I'm happy to bring up any plans or materials at the request of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kemet. I'm just going to mention, I know we've had this difficulty in the past hearing you, that the connection isn't good. So I think as we move forward, we might try and figure out another way for you to do Zoom with us, because it was hard. And I was watching many members of the committee and the public wincing at not being able to hear everything you said. So it's hard. And I know that that's not really a problem right now that you can control, but I just want to go on the record saying, let's work this out for next time, because it was hard. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment about this proposal? Nobody is in the chamber. I don't see any hands on Zoom. I don't believe we received any letters. No, not. So let's take it into the committee. Councilor President Laredo.
I think this is your ward, Chair Kelly. Great project. I see no issues with it whatsoever. Happy to move approval when you are ready.
Councilor Block and then Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for planning. I was just a little confused by the memo, which under criteria for consideration, it almost sounds like you're not recommending this. The proposed addition, which will further increase nonconforming FAR and further decrease nonconforming open space, will be substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconforming structure is to the neighborhood. Is that, am I just misreading this, or?
So I can jump in, Cass. So when we put forth the criteria, that's what the council should consider. So you should consider whether those will be more detrimental. Maybe,
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine, just a little confusing, the wording. I think this is a great project. Thank you, Chair.
Like a reverse negative or a double positive or something like that. Counselor Lucas?
Thank you. Ms. Hardy, sorry, I had to look up the name real quick. Ms. Hardy, you said it in the beginning of your presentation, but what is the need for this special permit request?
So the expansion that we're hoping to do to have a little bit of additional living space, we have a long, narrow property, so everything is very confined widthwise. And so this is to help us have a little extra living space in our kitchen and our living area, et cetera. And so that addition will set us over the FAR requirements.
So it's just for additional living space?
Correct.
Okay, and you do intend to continue to live in this home if the special permit is approved, correct?
We do.
Okay, good, thank you. I'm all set.
Thank you. You're already quite a bit over FAR if 0.31 is the maximum allowed and you're at 0.42 and you want to go to 0.48, just so that we understand that. It is a neighborhood with similarly sized homes. It is in my ward. I appreciate that. I think President Laredo will make the motion instead of me as the chair. But you had mentioned, and Mr. Hosford mentioned, you're adding a third floor. What is the height of the total? What is the tallest point of this structure?
Well, is my screen still shared?
No, but you can do it again.
Okay, here we go. So, the main addition is this here. There's an existing dormer on the driveway side, this dormer here, that has to be expanded slightly. Be made a foot wider, basically, in order to allow headroom to finish this existing semi-finished attic space, because we're taking a non-conforming unsafe stair and making a conforming safe stair to that third floor space. In order to do that, we do have to modify that dormer.
Yes, we heard that. I'm just asking, what is the total height?
To that dormer? Well, the total height of the main addition's about 29 feet from grade. The total height of the building is, I believe 35 point, go back to the surveyor.
That's what I'm getting at. Ms. Kemet, maybe you have the.
Yeah, so the existing building is 35.8 feet. The new building, this is probably because there's some adjustments around the non-permeable patio, is 35.7 feet. So they're both under the existing requirement, so we're not going any higher. And we're not going any higher with the existing dormer either.
Or then code allows you. I'm just asking that because when we hear three floors, which isn't usually allowable, we need to know the height. And when we hear 3 stories and a dormer, we really take a look at that.
Yeah, so just a little correction to Barry's. We're not adding a dormer. There's an existing dormer. We do have to modify it slightly.
Okay. So Ms. Kemet, planning has no issue with the dormer and the height, correct?
That's correct.
Great. Any other wrap-up questions or points? And if not, let's vote on Councilor Laredo's motion that he's about to make officially.
Gonna move to close the public hearing and move to approve.
Great. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we'll take a look at the findings and conditions.
Sorry, okay. I was not able to share. So for findings, we have 1, the proposed increase in floor area ratio from 0.42 to 0.48, where 0.31 is the maximum allowed by right, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood, because it will be built to a size and scale that is not incompatible with other residential structures in the area. 2, the proposed reduction of the nonconforming open space will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconforming open space is to the neighborhood, because it will be partially screened with trees and greenery. And for conditions, we have our referencing conditions with the architectural plans and the site plan. Standard building permit conditions requiring a copy of the special permit and planning department review. And for occupancy, we have a statement from a registered architect or land surveyor certifying compliance with the referencing condition and final as-built plan survey plan.
All set?
Yes.
I assume? Okay, thanks. I just like to hear the closure point so I don't cut you off. We don't move forward if you still had something more to say. All right, let's take a vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lovovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Laredo,
Aye.
motion passes.
Good luck, Miss Hardy.
Thank you.
Next, we have number 128-25, which is at 131 Rumford Ave. It's a request for waivers from certain dimensional requirements for parking facilities so that the Newton Food Pantry can move in. Hi, welcome. Just let us know who you are and your address and tell us what you want to do.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Lemberg. I am a Newton resident, 39 Anawan Road, and I'm the executive director of the Newton Food Pantry. If you can share, oh, it's already up there. So thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We have a wonderful project team, and we're going to walk you through what the zoning relief that we're seeking today. Would love to tell you a little bit about the food pantry briefly. For more than 42 years, the Newton Food Pantry has been a consistent and vital force in our city, providing supplemental food assistance to Newton residents experiencing economic hardship. What began as a grassroots effort has grown into an essential service and now supports more than 2,500 Newton residents annually. We do all of this from a small pantry tucked in the basement of this very building. Our clients are seniors on fixed incomes, young families stretched thin by the high cost of living here, working adults facing unexpected challenges, and so many others. Every single one of them are Newton residents, and they rely on us not just for food, but also for stability, wellness, and the hope of a better tomorrow. Unfortunately, the ever-growing need for hunger relief in Newton has long challenged the limitations of our pantry space here in City Hall. In 2023, we began exploring potential new locations, and later that year, a remarkable opportunity emerged. A local developer donated to the Newton Food Pantry a 20,000 square foot parcel of undeveloped land at 131 Rumford Avenue in Auburndale. The property was originally slated to be a marijuana dispensary, and the owners came before this very committee and in 2021 were approved for a special permit for additional on-site parking, among other relief. When the owners opted not to go ahead with the project, the development company generously chose to donate the property to the Newton Food Pantry. Our planned 5,000 square foot single-story food pantry will more than triple the amount of space we currently operate out of downstairs. The new pantry will allow us to serve more Newton residents in need, store and distribute more fresh and healthy food, and introduce new client-centered services in collaboration with community partners. Please know that this building is not just about space. It's about impact. It's about building a more resilient, compassionate, and equitable Newton. We're here tonight to take the next step in turning that vision into reality. The property we'll be discussing is located between Extra Space Storage on Rumford Ave and the employee entrance to the city's Resource Recovery Center. Extra Space and our property share an existing driveway entrance, and the relief we're seeking tonight is essentially the same as was granted back in 2021 when the property was to be a marijuana retailer. Thank you for considering our request tonight and for supporting the Noon Food Pantry, a nonprofit organization that so many of your constituents quietly and necessarily depend on. I'm going to turn it over now to our civil engineer, Josue Valdez, who's joining us online. And then after that, our counsel, Brendan Smith, who will walk you through our proposal for relief.
Mr. Valdez,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you. My name is Josue Valdez. I am a registered professional engineer in Massachusetts with Foster O'Neill, and we are the site civil engineers helping Newton Food Pantry with the project. Project pretty much consists, so the project pretty much consists on 5,000 square feet building with accessory parking areas, walks, and landscape areas. The site access will be provided through an existing curb cut on Romford Ave that connects to a shared driveway with the existing self-storage facility that was already constructed a few years ago. From a parking perspective, we are proposing 25 parking spaces, out of which 2 of them will be bank accessible spaces. Those have been located right in front of the building on the easiest area of access and egress from the building. And there's also going to be an accessible walk provided from the parking spaces all the way to the public walk on Romford Ave. From a loading perspective, the loading will happen inside of the building. There's going to be kind of like an overhead door right where the cursor is pointing at right now. The curbs directly in front of the overhead door will be flush, which will allow for easy operation while loading or unloading products into the building. Other site features that we are proposing on site are a dumpster enclosure on the rear portion of the site. It's going to be surrounded by a PVC fence and screened by the landscaped area by the proposed planting on the back. There's also going to be a covered bike rack and a picnic table, mostly to be used by the staff for lunches and kind of like gathering events. From a landscaping perspective, the main goal of landscaping on this project is to provide beautification to the project as well as screening to the rear parking lot. So this will be efficiently screening the rear parking lot from any adjacent properties. Now I'm going to get a little bit technical here on the stormwater end. So the project has been previously approved. Well, a similar size project on the same property has been previously approved twice. One of them was with the self-storage facility in which they were proposing a retail building in this location, and the second time was for the marijuana dispensary. At that point of time, when the self-storage facility was approved and constructed, a stormwater system was also constructed. That stormwater system pretty much includes a sediment survey that it's off the page on the back of the rear parking lot. There is a subsurface infiltration system right underneath the shared driveway that is being shared with the self-storage facility, and 2 water quality units to provide treatment. This system was designed with the intent of also providing water quality treatment and handling the runoff from the 131 Romford site. So having that in mind, as we've been working to the design of the Newton Food Pantry, we made sure that the new proposed site work actually shows a decrease on impervious area when compared to the original approved plans for which the stormwater systems were designed. A total of 490 square feet. The total decrease of impervious area, it's 490 square feet when compared to the original approved project for which the system was designed. Having that in mind, it is our understanding that the existing stormwater system will handle and have enough capacity to handle and treat the stormwater coming from the Newton Flood Pantry site. From a utility perspective, power and water will be provided from Romford Ave, and sewer will be connected to the existing sewer pump on the shared driveway. And as part of an early iteration of this, it was confirmed that, again, that sewer pump also installed in the shared driveway was installed having in mind the retail space that was permitted together with the self-storage facility. And the Newton Food Pantry sewage usage is not going to increase that demand. Therefore, the existing sewer pump should also be sufficient to serve the site. With that, I conclude the site overview, and I'm turning it to Brendan. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Brendan Smith from Goulston and Stores in Boston. I'm pro bono legal.
Yeah, could you speak into the microphone?
Certainly. How's that?
I'm just going to tell you ahead of time that I know that your team had been given 5 to 10 minutes to chat, and you're close to that. So how much time do you think you need of important things to tell us?
Everything's so important, Madam Chair. But, I think given that, and want to be respectful of the board's time, I don't want to be redundant with anything that the planning department's going to present. So maybe I'll just allow them to work through some of the zoning relief required, and I can respond to questions.
Oh, that would be fine. Thank you very much. Ms. Wewell, let's go to you.
Sure. I can give a presentation from the planning department. Let me just stop the screen. Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay. So this is special permit 128-25 at 131 Rumford Avenue. The neighborhood context is along Rumford Avenue. The site is located in a business 2 zone. Rumford Ave consists of larger, commercial buildings, as you can see here, with extensive associated surface parking with those uses. This parcel is unimproved, but it's located between a self-storage facility and the city's resource recovery center. The zoning relief requested is largely dimensional parking relief and around signage. And I'll kind of describe later, but I think a lot of this relief has to do with the fact that there is a shared driveway arrangement with the abutter. When reviewing the request, the council should consider these 4 standard special permit criteria, as well as the specific parking criteria and the sign ordinance criteria. So those are spelled out on this screen. When reviewing this petition, planning, believed that much of the dimensional relief, as the applicant shared their site plans, results from that shared driveway arrangement, which will service this property and the abutting property, is sort of, drives a lot of that relief of waiving the minimum driveway width, the perimeter screening, because the perimeter is that shared driveway on one side of the site, and to allow parking facility requirements to be met off-site. Oops, sorry. Additionally, they are seeking a waiver of the lighting waiver. Planning felt that was appropriate, as the ordinance does require high levels of lighting. While the petitioner did not submit a photometric plan to demonstrate compliance with those intense lighting levels, the plans show light poles in the parking area, as well as outdoor light fixtures on the building elevations. And as noted earlier, the previous approval for a different use on this property supported the site layout due to the width and shape of the lot and due to the shared driveway. So we believe those findings are still consistent with this proposed project. Then lastly, relief around the signage is appropriate as it is only for the number and types of signs. The sizes of the signs will need to comply with the zoning ordinance unless additional relief is sought. So that concludes the planning presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wewell. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment about this or ask a question? Come forward, please.
My name is Marilyn Crone. I live at 72 Fuller Street in Woburn, and I'm a volunteer at the Newton Food Pantry. I began volunteering at the pantry after retiring from working with homeless children and families in Roxbury. I'm a member of the board of the Franklin Square House Foundation that proudly gave significant support to the new Family Navigation Center in West Newton. 5 years ago, a year after I joined the volunteer team at the Newton Food Pantry, the leadership saw the need for a healthy snack program for the children of our clients. I was asked to spearhead a new program that provided a small bag with healthy snacks for children to take to school, to eat at snack time, or to eat before or after school. Starting my teaching career in Newton at the Underwood School many decades ago, I certainly understood the need for snack time. So the Newton Food Pantry's Kids Bags program was launched in December 2020 with 6 volunteers making 200 snack bags in the War Memorial Auditorium, masked once a month on a Saturday morning. Today, to meet the needs of our clients' children, we now make 600 or 650 kids bags once a month with the help of 40 volunteers. In addition to the Saturday volunteers, we were thrilled with feedback from the community groups in Newton asking how they could get involved with the Kids Bags program. Public and private school classes, schools, scouting groups, athletic teams, religious organizations, and individual Newton families who heard about the program and understood the need have all made kids bags and donated them, sometimes as many as 150 bags every year. As the number of clients, children, and need has grown, so have the number of kids bags made, and yet the space is the same. The space is tight. Where to store the kids' bags? I admit that there have been many times that I've driven around with boxes of donated kids' bags in the back of my Jeep until there was room in one of the cabinets or wire cages in the hallways near the food pantry in the basement of this building. Now we have begun putting bags inside one another to fit them in the cabinets, and they are piled 2 and 3 boxes high to store them all. We make it work, but it's time. We have outgrown our spaces and we need a new home. I have been consistently and constantly impressed by how the Newton Food Pantry leadership and volunteers make work to make it work. Their dedication to meet the growing food needs and the expanding linguistic and cultural diversity of our Newton neighbors is witnessed every day at the pantry. I am so proud of their focused determination to help support those in our community who are food insecure. And they do it with great respect and compassion for everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you coming back to the microphone to speak? No. Okay. Anyone else from the public? Otherwise, we will take it into committee and this gentleman may answer some questions. I have Councillor Farrell first.
Thank you, Chair. Let me start by saying I couldn't be more supportive of the purposes of the Newton Food Pantry, and nor more complimentary about all of the workers and volunteers that you have supporting your efforts. We certainly need this. Couple of important points from my perspective. I don't know what was on this land before, but where it is currently, I'm just curious to know, because we're talking about the production of food, have there been any soil tests on the property to see what is there, that it is contamination free?
We have done the testing and it is contamination free. So it was part of our due diligence when we considered the site when it was offered to us. So we did some initial testing.
Excellent. Thank you for answering that. I'm interested in the population in Newton that you support. This is, City Hall isn't exactly the most central location, but this certainly is significantly less central. And I'm thinking about people certainly on where I am, from the south side of the city, about how they get here. What is the transportation system like for people? For people who don't have access to cars and for whom the transportation system is less than adequate? Are there programs where you have for providing food to homes or to other areas of the city where people could pick that up?
So a few questions in there. So 90% of our clients drive to us currently, so drive themselves or are driven by a family member, or they're using a ride sharing service such as GoGo Newton. The other 10% get to us in a few different ways. The new site is supported by 2 different bus routes. So City Hall here is supported by 1, so it's actually more access that way. In addition, we have 2 different home delivery programs through the Newton Food Pantry. So we provide home delivery to medically homebound individuals. And then we have a program that is supported by another nonprofit, Newton Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And they manage the home deliveries. And those are for additional folks who are referred to us through social workers throughout the school system in the city. So we have 2 different home delivery programs. And again, overwhelmingly, people are getting to us by vehicle, which again speaks to why we're looking for the relief for parking.
Thank you. Do you have any sense about how many participants you have from the south side of the city?
The majority of our, I don't know if that's right, many of our clients are from the northwest corner, from Auburndale, Nonantum, so those areas. So there are certainly some. We have clients coming from all parts of Newton, but I think we are going closer to where the larger numbers of our clients live.
And just in terms of transportation and parking, since you're building a brand new building, which I think is fantastic, have you worked with other organizations who are interested in finding space? And is there any opportunity is this a 1-story building?
It is.
Is there any opportunity? I know this is all money.
That's the answer.
I understand. But working with other organizations that are trying to do similar things to what you are, to have a 2nd story that would allow them to train people, receive people, work with other organizations to combine efforts. I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, we
before
certainly,
it's built.
yeah, early on, we certainly considered it and it just became financially non-feasible for us. But we will have for the first time ever a conference room in the pantry, and we intend to use that as a community collaboration center, an opportunity for community partners to come in and provide different services to our clients. So that's everything from SNAP benefit registration to financial literacy education to wellness screenings to more. And so we are really excited about being able to use the space to provide some wraparound services by going deeper with our partners.
Thank you. My last question, thank you, Chair, is that you have a lot of parking space. Is it going to be possible to do anything permeable on all of that parking space?
I believe so.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Interesting. Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Councillor Downs.
Thank you, Chair. It's wonderful that Newton Food Pantry will have a place to go that is a little bit bigger and has a little bit more parking perhaps than where they are now. I just wanted to add my support for the waiver of the lighting for the parking lot. It's often argued that we need it for safety, although I don't know how many evening deliveries or pickups he'll be having. But, one of the problems with all night lighting is that it kills a lot of bugs, it kills birds, and we're seeing both of them in decline. So I hope on this one we can agree that we don't need additional lighting here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Downs. Councillor Lucas?
Thank you. I just want to follow up on the comments about lighting that Councillor Downs just made. I saw on the site plan that you're going to have a light in the rear of the building. Oh boy, in the rear of the lot, behind the building. Will there be any lighting on the side?
There will be, yeah. I mean, so there will be lights attached to the building, and there'll be lampposts. So yeah, we don't have the lighting plan submitted, but it is, yes.
That's fine. Okay, thank you. And then the other thing is, because you're gonna have a lot of activity in the parking lot and area surrounding the parking lot, where if the dumpster and bike racks, you have a picnic table, and I think there's going to be some benches as well. I think I saw some benches on the site plan. I don't know the technical term, bear with me. Will there be any bollards or car stoppers in the parking lot, in the parking spaces, to prevent a car from going up on the curb, so you have more space for the sidewalk?
That's a good question.
I can answer that. We currently don't have any bollards there. We do have a full curb reveal that, unless somebody's driving, really fast, it should act almost as a wheel stop. But if it will be an easy add if that's the way, if you prefer that, we can definitely add a few bollards in that area.
Yeah, I would recommend it, just because I want to make sure folks have have enough room to walk on the sidewalk. And I'm guilty as it too, where I back into my spot and my trunk is overhanging on the sidewalk, and that doesn't serve any purpose. And yes, I will admit I do it from time to time, but I don't think I should, and I don't think we should allow people to do that here. So I would recommend putting some car, those flat ones that go the length of the width of the parking stall. If you could place those, just so that you have more space and you have, I think, better pedestrian safety. So that's just my recommendation. Other than that, I fully endorse everything about the Newton Food Pantry and everything that you and your team does. And I'll be voting for this when the time comes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas. Councillor Lobovitz, followed by Loretta.
I had similar questions and concerns about the lighting. Will there be security cameras? Building?
We're not intending right now to have security cameras for the driveway now.
Yes, I'm fully supportive of this project, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you, Councillor Lobovitz. President Laredo.
I'll keep it extremely brief. Great project. Let's get it done. I have no worries about the lighting issue. I have no worries about security cameras. I appreciate Councillor Lucas's caution on the sidewalk. If that's something you all want to do, great. If not, I'm fine with that too. I just hope we get this moving forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Laredo, Counselor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also am fully in support of the project and so happy that you found a new home to better meet the needs of your clients. I was just curious, what are the hours that you'll be open?
We are still working on that. So we'll be figuring that out now. We're actually going through a strategic planning. Board of directors and my staff are working through that. So, I mean, ultimately, our goal is to serve more people in Newton who need our assistance by being able to be open, accessible more days and hours. We're going to minimize the traffic flow greatly. So we don't have the exact hours yet. I mean, I think at best we're a year away from opening. So we're still figuring that out.
But would you be open most days?
Definitely not most days. I mean, currently we're open we serve clients in here from 12 to 7 on Wednesdays and from 10 to 1 on Thursdays. And that's it. So through that window, we're serving 2,500 Newton residents. So being able to spread that out a little bit will certainly ease the burdens on staff and volunteers and open up opportunities for more people to get the need they help.
And then I was
need.
wondering how many staff would be working there?
We have a staff of 5. So there's myself and then 3 other full-timers and a part-time bookkeeper. And as of right now, we have no intention of increasing that.
Okay. And how many people do you serve in a typical, during the time you're open? And do you expect that to increase?
Yeah. So I would add one, we have about 130 volunteers over the course of a week who are supporting us. Not everybody's in the pantry. They're doing a lot of other things as well. And it's spread out throughout the course of the week. We currently serve up to 300 unique households a week where we are now. So over the course of a year, that's about 1,000 unique households that we serve. So we expect that to increase. But part of the strategic planning process is figuring out how do we do a tiered outreach because we can't just open the floodgates to some degree. So we're going to be scaffolding it a bit and try to have percentage growth.
That's great. I just wanted to learn more about how you serve your clients. The only thing I would add is something that my fellow counselors have already mentioned, the lighting and the thinking about more pervious surfaces. You are not adjacent to wetlands, but you're very close to the Charles River. And you're also close to you're on virgin land, right? This is all open space currently. And there's a lot of open area and there are a lot of birds and swallows and all kinds of things there too. So minimizing the lighting at night and increasing the amount of pervious surfaces would be an added plus, I think, for that area. So those would be my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Leary. Counselor Block.
Thank you, Chair. Some of the comments are verging on to our favorite topic of parking and traffic. So forgive me just probing a little bit on these 2 days that you're currently open. And if 90% of your clients are coming by car, how does that work here? And how's that going to work in the new location? And you have enough parking to accommodate what you'll be dealing with?
So that is the essence of the relief we seek, is to have the extra parking. The clients who come are coming over the course, let's say on a Thursday, over the course of 7 hours. So spread out. Some of that is by appointment. So we try to segment that. So our first 3 hours are by appointment. So we're able to control the flow that way. Some of those, 300 households that we're serving over the given week includes home deliveries. So we're always looking for ways in which we can kind of bring the mountain to the people to alleviate some of the flow. And so again, by being able to be open more days and more hours each week, we spread out the flow of traffic. Ultimately, the relief we're seeking is to minimize the flow.
Sure. So, and do you need offsite parking to either for staff or for other purposes, or is this going to be sufficient for everyone?
The parking on site will be for clients, and so staff and volunteers will be using offsite parking. So we're really prioritizing the residents of Newton who
So they
are
will be
coming.
using offsite? So,
Staff and volunteers will be using offsite.
okay.
Yeah.
And so where's that?
So we've talked across the street is Capasso Realty. And so Dante Capasso, who is also a volunteer with us, does home deliveries for us. And he has agreed to let us use some of his parking, which is again across the street as a sizable property.
Wonderful to
there.
hear.
He's a good man. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck with all of this. It's quite a venture. Madam Chair, are we ready for motions? This is in my ward and happy to make them if they're called for at this point.
Thank you, Councillor Block. I was just going to add one comment. Last night, Councillor Kritzman, who is also a representative of Ward 4, along with Councillor Block, who couldn't be here tonight, wanted to be sure that I mentioned his support for this project. So we've got another councillor already on board. I agree with many of the comments that were made by my colleagues about lighting and pavement, permeable pavement surface. So I would like us to vote on the motions that Councillor Block is about to make officially.
Move to close the public hearing and move to approve.
Thank you. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Now we'll look at the findings and the conditions.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me pull up my screen with the draft findings. So here we have the findings we went over earlier. So we basically pointed to it's an appropriate location for these items of relief due to the rectangular shape of the site, specific use of the site as a food pantry, and its location within the Business 2 zoning district. Project requiring relief will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Much of the relief comes from the shared driveway configuration with the abutter, and the size of the site can support the specific operations of the use with associated parking. Will not create a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. Much of the relief comes from that shared driveway configuration, and they also provide a walkway for pedestrians. Access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. And then literal compliance with the city's parking regulations is impracticable due to the use and the location, size, width, depth, shape, or grade of the lot. The proposed project includes a shared driveway, which necessitates most of the relief, and a different configuration would result in additional paved area. So if they were to have their own driveway with those width requirements, it would result in additional paving. The proposed exceptions to the sign ordinance should be permitted and are appropriate due to the nature of the use. The use supports many members of the public, and enhanced wayfinding through a freestanding sign and secondary wall signs to the site will serve the public. And then moving along to the conditions, we have the standard conditions for this scale of project. So the plan referencing condition, site plans, architectural plans, the construction hours, those mirror the ordinance, but we like to put them in the special permit. The O&M plan requirement, pest and rodent control condition, the construction management plan due to the scope of the project. And then some requirements before the building permit is issued. We check that the council order is recorded and filed, submitted that construction management plan, submitted a final plan set, and planning would sign off on the plans that may be approved tonight. And then the CO condition has similar requirements. And lastly, this allows for temp CO if there's still outstanding landscaping. And then there's an ongoing condition that requires all landscaping is maintained in good condition and is replaced as soon as feasibly possible. So that covers the council order.
Thank you, Ms. Wewell. We're ready to vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lovovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Laredo,
Aye.
motion passes.
Good luck at your new home. On my side of the city. Next, we have number 124-25, which is a request to allow parking in the front setback at 22 Owatonna. Correct me if I said the road, mispronounced the road name.
No, you got it right.
Good.
Oh, I got it. I got it. I don't hook into there? I got to join by Zoom? I don't know. If I have that connection.
Thank you. Are we able to do this just via Wi-Fi so we don't spend a lot of setup time here as
Yeah, if you'd like, we could.
we'd like to just be able to move on if we can, if you're able to.
Do it by Wi-Fi? What do you mean, do it by Wi-Fi?
Do you think of grapefruit water? Okay. Or ruby red tangerine. It was called ruby red. But otherwise I have water here. Thank you.
Yep.
You think you're set?
Thank you for your patience. Sorry about that.
I know
I
everyone.
didn't realize it was I thought I was just sharing a couple of slides.
When we hit 9 o'clock, people start wanting to go to
Oh, I
bed.
believe
And
of
we've
those
got
people.
several more items too, so. when you're ready, you can just start by letting us know who you are, your name and address.
Sure. Steve Riley with SLR Architecture. My address is 28 Woodbine Terrace in Newton. I'm here on behalf of my clients, the Wards, who live at 22 Owatonna Street, Newton. What we're looking to do is convert an existing small garage into living space. What this does is makes us violate the front parking setback for zoning. Currently, only one car is allowed in the front setback. They've been parking 2 cars in that front setback since they've owned the property. And that's the gist of the proposal.
You have some plans. You're going to show us what this looks like.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to show you that eventually here.
I'm assuming a site plan that shows where the parking spots are.
Mhm. Yay. So share screen. Okay.
Here comes help again. We need to practice this in the future before coming. Mr. Morris, I bet you're feeling very technologically advanced at this moment. Would it help if we went to planning? Because they may have the plans to show and they can do a presentation and you can fill in after them. So we don't have more dead time. How about that?
That's fine by me.
If you're not about to pull it up. Ms. Kemet,
Not one.
are you able to step in at this time?
Right here.
Madam Chair, I think Ms. Kemet's trying to join by phone to help alleviate some of those audio issues. I can bring up the plans though, and maybe we can kind of give an overview of what
That
the
would be great.
project entails. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's try that.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Kat. Hi. I think I've unmuted myself successfully.
We can
your
hear
face
you.
too.
Great. Okay. Phew. All right. Katie, I'm happy to do my presentation if you want.
Great.
Sure. Maybe we should just kind of give an overview of what they're requesting.
Great.
So I think, Kat, do you want to just take it away and I can point and then we can go to your presentation?
Sure. So this is 22 Owatonna Street. They're planning to add 2 parking stalls in the front setback. So that's where you see the Owatonna Street there. So they're side by side and they're both dimensionally compliant. The plan is to expand the existing driveway by about 24 square feet. So just making it a bit wider and making it the full length of a parking stall.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think Kat's going to bring up the planning presentation.
Yeah, I have just a brief
brief
presentation. Oh, sorry. A little harder way. Okay, so this is 22 Owatonna Street. It's petition 124-25 to allow 2 parking stalls in the front setback. The parcel consists of a 6,250 square foot lot, which is rectangular and improved with a single family dwelling constructed in 1948. This is a residential area with mostly single family homes. This lot and those surrounding it are zoned single residence 3. The site has several pre-existing nonconformities, including a side setback of 5.9 feet, where 7.5 feet is required, and a lot size of 6,250 square feet, where 7,000 is the minimum required. There is that existing garage on the left side of the property, leading to a single car attached garage. The petitioners intend to convert the existing garage into habitable space. The conversion will eliminate one of the 2 required parking stalls for the dwelling. So to accommodate 2 dimensionally compliant parking stalls, they are going to expand the paved portion of the existing driveway and locate both surface stalls within the front setback. Because only 1 parking stall may be located in the front setback, the project requires zoning relief. For criteria, the council should consider if the site is an appropriate location for the additional parking stall in the front setback, if the additional stall in the front setback will adversely affect the neighborhood, if the additional stall will create a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, if access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and number of vehicles involved, and if literal compliance with the city's parking regulations, which limit single-family homes to only 1 parking stall in the front setback, is impracticable due to the nature of the use, or the location, size, width, depth, shape, or grade of the lot, or that an exception would be in the public interest. Staff have no major concerns to note here. The lot is undersized, and the setbacks and location of the existing dwelling limit options for parking elsewhere on the site that wouldn't require relief. The existing driveway only needs to be widened a small amount, so the amount of additional paving on the site is fairly minimal, and both of the stalls will be compliant in terms of the size of the parking stalls and will be set back at least 5 feet from the street. So happy to bring up any plans or materials at the committee's request. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And we can hear you better this time. Is there anything you would like to add? It wasn't covered.
The only thing I just wanted to add is that the parking at the front has been, the client has parked that way since they've owned the home, and the previous owner also parked the same way. So it's not going to change the appearance of the neighborhood at all from if we use the space in the existing garage for living space.
Okay. Thank you. And I think we've heard fully from planning. Is that correct? Ms. Wewell and Ms. Kemet, you're all set totally, right?
Yep, that
Great.
concludes planning's presentation.
I see a few hands up. Rebecca?
Hi there. Thank you so much. I am a neighbor of the Wards. I live across the street at 27 Owatonna Street. I've lived here for 10 years. I moved in just months before the Wards, and I wanted to express my full support for this plan, which will allow the street to have fewer cars parked on it. It's a relatively narrow street. We've had no problems with the Wards parking their cars in their driveway as they've been doing for 10 years. And something that hasn't been mentioned is that their, backyard is at a lower level than the front yard, and they're really doing the only option that they have. So I think it would be great if this were approved, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for coming and speaking on their behalf. I thought I saw a hand of Becky. Yes, Becky Silva. You need to unmute.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I live directly across the street from them as well, from the Wards as well. And we fully support this project as well for all the reasons Rebecca just stated.
Well, thank you so much. 2 positive comments. Yes, come to the microphone.
Hello, my name is Ann Alvarado. I live at 26 Owatonna Street, directly next door to the Wards. We've owned our home for 15 years, and I can attest that the previous owners parked 2 cars in that driveway. The Wards have parked 2 cars in that driveway. It's absolutely no change to the neighborhood or character of the neighborhood, and I support this.
Thank you. Okay, let's try and wrap this up by bringing it into the committee. Councillor Block.
Thank you, Chair. This is an adorable street and an adorable house. And I think this will be very positive addition to the neighborhood. So this is in my ward. The appropriate time, I'll make the necessary motions.
Thank you. Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. I am supportive of this. Of the 2 cars parked in the front, it was good that your clients got the support of your neighbors, which we've heard tonight. I think that's good. I have some questions on the garage, going from a garage to living space. It says here in the planning memo that the work requires no dimensional relief for the new habitable space, which will increase the total gross floor area from 2,064 square feet to 2,096 square feet. So that's about 32 square feet. How big is the garage? I'm just a little confused on that.
So currently the garage counts towards the FAR. The discrepancy you're seeing in square footage there is a part of a project that did get approved to start, was enclosing a 32 square foot mudroom at the front of the home. So that's why it's changing the size slightly.
So it's the mudroom that
Correct.
really
You got
is
it.
part of that. And the garage is counting towards that 2,064, that first number.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. And you're not building anything new on top of the garage? It isn't getting bigger or wider? It's just,
Nope.
got it. Okay, thank you. I understand this now. Yeah, I'm in full support. Thank you. All set, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Always great to hear support from the neighbors. How much habitable space are you creating in the garage?
The garage is about 10 by 18, so it's a very small den space, if you will, about 180 square feet, 185 square feet.
Okay, so it's just additional living space. It's not a separate unit.
No, it's not a separate unit.
Okay,
We're
initially I was,
breaking the wall down between a hallway and the garage and turning it into a small den.
okay, that answers my question. I'm in full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leary. I'm just going to say a few words and then we'll have a motion from Councillor Block. Also think it's a really cute house. I also know the street and it's nice and quiet and narrow. And what I want to just mention is I'm typically not in favor of parking within the front setback. And in fact, generally we're not, but we consider each situation. And what makes me want to vote in favor of this one is that it's a very quiet street. You're not going to be running pedestrians over, coming in and out. Your parking spaces are adequately sized. I always push for that. I love the size of the 2 spaces. The fact that you've been parking there is not a convincing argument to me ever. If people are doing something that's not okay or not permitted, I don't want to continue it unless it makes sense. And in this case, I think it makes sense. So I will be voting in favor of it also. Councillor Block.
I move to close the public hearing and move to approve.
Thank you. Let's all vote on the closing the public hearing. Please say aye if you're in favor.
Aye.
That sounds like everyone. Then we will look at the conditions and the findings.
All right. Let me pull those up. This is Kat again. Thanks for bearing with me. I know my image isn't matching up necessarily with where my voice is coming from. So for findings, we have 1, the site is an appropriate location for the proposed second parking stall within the front setback. because locating the stall in the front setback minimizes the amount of additional paving needed for the second stall. 2, the additional parking stall will not adversely affect the neighborhood because the driveway location and orientation will remain the same and will be expanded only a small amount. 3, there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians because the curb cut will remain in the same location and provide adequate sight lines. 4, access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. And 5, literal compliance with the dimensional parking requirements is impracticable because the site is constrained by its pre-existing non-conforming size, frontage, and side setback, which prevents construction of parking stalls elsewhere on the site. And for conditions, we have the site plan being referenced. For building permit, planning will need to review and sign off and get a copy of the special permit that is registered. Occupancy is similar. We will want a statement from a registered architect or engineer and professional land surveyor or engineer certifying compliance with what was approved and those final as-built plans. And that is all I have for that.
Thank you, Ms. Kemet. Let's vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lovovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Laredo.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Good luck. Nice
Thank you for your
project.
time.
Come to the housewarming party. Okay, last on our agenda tonight, and I realize it's been so far a long night. We have a couple of different items all around 329 to 331 River Street. The first is that we're entertaining a vote to withdraw without prejudice items 273-24 and 274-24. Quick recap for everyone listening, and I think all the counselors know. There are a couple of open special permits on this that have been changed and moving forward. So this is just closing out the old ones so we don't have too many on the table before us. So Mr. Morris, you have officially requested withdrawal of both of these?
I'm sorry, what was the question, Madam Chair?
You have officially requested to withdraw without prejudice for 273, which was to rezone 2 parcels to MR1, and number 274-24.
That was correct.
Okay, you're withdrawing both of those. What, should we vote on each of them separately? I think so. Can we do that by voice, or do you need a roll call for that? Yeah, we will. Yeah. I think Councillor Block, these are in your ward again, aren't they?
I didn't hear. Do we need a roll call vote? Is that,
And
or
we're going to separate them, and we're
we're
going
going
to
to separate them?
We
So
can
you,
do voice votes, but we need motions to
Got it. So
approve
you-
the
is-
withdrawal without prejudice.
so I move to withdraw both requests without prejudice.
Thank you. And in this case, you're okay without the prejudice.
In this case, very much so.
Okay, let's vote on the first one first, which is the 273-24. We can do a voice vote. This is the request to rezone 2 parcels to MR Residence 1. All in favor of accepting the withdrawal without prejudice, say aye.
Aye.
Councillor Downs, did I hear you?
Aye.
There we go. That is approved 8-0, and we'll do the second one, which is 274-24, which was a request to allow 6 attached single-family dwellings in 3 buildings and associated parking waivers at 329-331 River Street and 335 River Street. All in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There we go again. Now the slate is clean, and we get to take up item number 111-25, which is a request to change from an existing non-conforming residential use to another to allow 3 separate single-family dwellings on 1 lot, with the city council determining appropriate density and dimensional controls at 329-331 River Street. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Terry Morris. I'm an attorney with offices at 57 Elm Road, Newton, where I live. And I'm representing the owners of the property who are here with me this evening, Mr. Alec Polnareff and Alex Kogan. We have obviously come a long way from the petitions that were just withdrawn. We took to heart a number of the criticisms, constructive and otherwise, that were directed at the first petition. And we've come back now with a new petition, obviously, that by comparison eliminates a lot of the items, issues that resulted in the withdrawal of the first petition. As was pointed out, there was no zone change in this petition. There are no retaining walls. Retaining walls were a big issue on the last petition, largely because this site is a site with a topographical change from back a sidewalk of 8 feet from elevation 64 to 72 in the back, and the site continues to rise beyond that. There was significant concern about at the time about flooding and stormwater management and retaining walls, and those retaining walls have been eliminated. Since that time, the council has adopted an ordinance to regulate the height of buildings and also the use of retaining walls by providing that building height now is to be measured from the existing grade. We're actually pleased to report that this petition starts off by measuring in the houses at existing grade. As a result, none of these houses have basements. One of the key differences here also is the fact that the first petition was 3 attached dwellings, euphemistically called townhomes. We are now providing single-family dwellings, which obviously in a single residence district is the most compatible form of housing style. With respect to neighborhood outreach, in the first instance, after taking several months to develop the new plans, we basically sent those plans to neighbors about which we had contact information from the previous petition, and back in February of 2024. And then more recently, we had a neighborhood meeting inviting those same people as well as others to discuss any issues that they had while they were on site. Those issues that were identified and at that time were building height, reduction in pervious area, house size, and an issue that came up post meeting was whether there was a problem with one of the turning radii in the driveway for the first house. I will proceed to basically address each of those in our presentation. This, as has been pointed out by the chair, is a request to change one non-conforming use to another. It is the shorthand call. It's also referred to as a Section 6 special permit finding. It is significantly important because the criteria involved in granting this petition is whether the change of the one non-conforming use to another requires a finding that the new non-conforming use is not substantially more detrimental than the current non-conformity. I would suggest and hope during this presentation that you will see the conclusion that we have come to, and that is that, to the contrary, that there are a number of reasons why this, we believe, is actually beneficial. The first of these, of course, is stormwater management controls. As I alluded to earlier, this being a site located with a significant grade change. This recalls to mind the concerns that were expressed in the first hearing on the first initial petition about stormwater runoff and how that will be managed. In the planning department memo, they basically note that the engineering division had identified no significant issues. I would like to read actually from that report, because going beyond the no significant issues, they actually made positive findings. And I quote, The proposed stormwater collection and infiltration system will greatly improve both water quality and quantity coming off the site in conformance with DEP and city stormwater ordinances. Furthermore, the system collects runoff from the 3 roofs, access driveway, and has provided graded swales to direct surface water flowing onto the site from along the easterly property line and directs it to underground infiltration system. Additionally, a French drain is proposed across the frontage of the property to collect and surface water and groundwater. And lastly, as a safety factor, the designer has proposed overflow connection to the city drain main within River Street. All of these, I think, go a long way to, I think, proving a point, and that is that one of the very important significant changes because the current site has no stormwater management control. And as a result, water free flows during storms without any limitation. One of the other things here is we have an upgraded site that upgraded moderately sized housing stock. One of the issues, as I said, that came up in the neighborhood meeting is these single family homes. They contain 2,400 square feet of living space. As I said, there are no basements. I know that it's often a question asked in situations like this when people are developing houses that require a special permit. And of course, the reason why we are here tonight, one of the benefits is we are dealing with a controlled redevelopment with public input. And finally, we believe that the landscape plan, we should show the landscape plan. There was an issue about the number of trees that were existed on the site prior to or is in conjunction with this development. I would point out to you that there is significant landscaping have been installed. The trees that were removed were done so with a permit from the tree warden. And all of the trees that were removed have been compensated inch by caliper inch as is required under the pre-ordinance. So what we have here, we have a single family zoning district and we have 3 single family houses. The whole issue here is really to talk about the dimensional controls for each of those houses. The planning department's one of the conclusion is that because the structures meet many of the dimensional controls required for by right residential projects in the SR3 district, including all setbacks, height, open space, lot coverage, units are contextually similar to other nearby residential buildings. 2 issues that often come up in special permit situations are lot coverage. And here, the lot coverage allowed is up to 30%. And the lot coverage that we are proposing is actually, I believe, 24%. Yes, 24.6%. 58% open space. One other on the zoning plan, if you have to show the zoning plan. The side setbacks, as the planning department member points out, the project is proposed with a lot size of 21,853 square feet. It has 107 feet of frontage. In comparison, a by right single-family detached dwelling on an old lot requires 7,000 square feet and a lot area and 70 feet of frontage for dwellings in this district. So what we have here is 3 single-family houses that actually meet all the setback requirements that are associated with building single-family houses. And it's being placed on a lot that is 3 times the size of the old lot standard of 7,000 per. As I said before, the planning department also has pointed out in their memorandum they had talked about that the petitioner should clarify the extent of the area that will be covered in grass pavers, and planning recommends the petitioner utilize permeable paving on the site when possible. I'm here to report to you that we intend to use permeable driveways throughout the site. And even though they are not shown on the plan, we would suggest that a condition that we would support in the permit that would require us to do so. I think that goes a long way towards addressing the planning department's concern on that issue. I think that, lastly, I guess I'll conclude with the planning department's report. Constructing 3 single-family dwellings is consistent with the existing residential character of the area, while allowing for 1 additional unit than is currently allowed on the site. With that, Madam Chair, I know the lateness of the hour, and would basically, that'll conclude our formal presentation, but we are certainly here to answer any questions you may have in furtherance of this petition. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morris. Let's see if there are any members of the public who would like to speak on this. Anyone still on Zoom? I don't see any hands. Yes, there we go. Jimmy? Hanlon?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Jimmy Hanlon. I live at 26 James Street. I'm not going to make this long, but I think the committee is well aware of what Mr. Morris and the applicants were trying to do here prior to this application. 6 units in a SR3 single-family residential neighborhood. The people who live, the abutters that live near this parcel, do not support placing 3 single-family homes on a single-family lot. Mr. Morris talks a lot about the technical stormwater and other aspects of the property, but doesn't speak at all to the impact that this is going to have on the neighborhood. There was a 27 square foot 2-family home there previously. Mr. Morris and the applicant are proposing to increase that density by 3 times. There's going to be 3 families with guests and cars, creating noise and impacts on the neighborhood that we don't want. Nowhere else in our neighborhood are there 3 single-family homes on a single-family lot. You can look at the parcels along River Street, James Street, and Whitlow Road, and you will not find any other lot configured in this manner. I did suggest to Mr. Morris and the applicants that they consider reducing the impact of what they're proposing to 2 units, 2 families, 4 units, and not have a 3rd structure so deep into this unit that's going to have a noise and visual impact on the neighbors. None of the abutters support this project, and I would ask that the committee take into consideration what the neighborhood feels about it and not allow this type of development in our single-family neighborhood. I also feel, and I've been advised, there's some flaws in this application, that the pre-existing non-conforming use no longer exists. The property, the home was demolished, utilities were cut and capped, and that use was terminated. So I don't think we have a pre-existing non-conforming use to consider. I'll leave the rest to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. On your latter point, I wonder if Mr. Temple would weigh in on that question. Are you still with us, Mr. Temple?
Yes, Chair, I can speak to that very
thank you.
briefly. The non-conforming use protections remain on this property. It would need to be abandoned for a period of 2 years for the protections to be given up.
Thank you. When was it demolished? I asked that question today, so I'm not sure.
September 24.
Did you want to say some? Thank you, Mr. Temple. Did you want to add something to that, Mr. Morris?
I do want to point, if we could share once again, I want to point out, I just want to make one point.
Okay. Do they want to come up, or while I still have Mr. Hanlon and while they're pulling up what they want, I think I may have misheard you. You were saying that none of the neighbors support this. They would have preferred two-family homes, 4 units, but they don't like 3 units. They would have preferred the 4 units of two families to 3 single-family homes. Is that what you said, Mr. Hanlon?
So we suggested to Mr. Morris that he consider placing 2 structures with driveways directly on River Street that would give him the opportunity to have 4 units that didn't entail a common driveway and didn't entail a 3rd home so deep into the lot, which impacts and imposes on the abutters. So when you have driveways on River Street, the cars pull into their driveway, the noise associated with cars, doors opening and closing, people talking, music playing, doesn't occur deep into a lot. And I think we all know the impact of 3 single-family homes with guests and visitors and cars, the amount of noise and disturbance that is going to create and really disrupt the quiet enjoyment for the abutters.
So my question to you is that you would have preferred two families, meaning 4 units, 4 households. You would have preferred that to these 3 single-family homes.
With driveway, yes, set along River Street with
Okay, I
driveways
just wanted to be
directly
sure
on
that
River Street.
we heard you. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Morse, did you want to finish up what you folks wanted?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In response to the issue of parking, we are well aware that parking in the first go-around was very concerned. We actually provided 2 spaces per in that 6-unit proposal and some additional parking. If we can point up the site, bring up the site plan, I will show you how we accommodate parking on this site very safely through access by 1 curb cut. You will see that there are 2-car garages providing two spaces per each of the units, but there's sufficient space for parking of 2 visitor spaces for each of the 3 homes. So I suggest that Mr. Hanlon's suggestion that there's not sufficient parking on site is just not accurate. And I would also point out that one of the findings that you are asked to make if we get to that point is that access to the site, and access to the site, I think, is pointed out in the planning department memo, because there is a single curb cut, avoiding the necessity of any more than a single curb cut, that contributes to one of the findings of safe access to the site.
Okay, I think we will get back to a lot of these other things when we get to the committee questions and comments. Still, public hearing part, Tim Feinstein.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I've been following this project for a bit, and I wanted to express my support for this revised project. It looks like, if I understand correctly, it's 3 single-family houses, essentially 7,000 square feet per lot, which is actually typical for Auburndale. I live at 49 Washburn Avenue. My lot is 6,000 square feet. The lot next to me is 6,000 square feet. It's very typical. I like also the fact that these are not huge houses. They're not small, but they're not huge. And these are not multifamily apartment buildings either. So it seems like the type of housing that would welcome families and would increase attendance at Burr Elementary School, hopefully, and in general, bring some life into neighborhood. Hopefully increase the tax base. I noticed that we're facing a bit of crisis with school funding. So if this serves the neighborhood and conforms with other housing in the neighborhood, I think it would be beneficial for all to have these 3 single-family housing. I understand the concern that were expressed to me. The noise for a 7,000 square lot, which is typical for Auburndale, wouldn't be any different than on a typical Auburndale street. So I, again, reinstate my support for this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Feinstein. Oh, Mr. Feinstein, could you give us your address? Did he say it? Okay, you got it, 49 Wash something. We got it. I'm sorry. Thank you. There's another hand. Audrey? Andrew?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I am living close to this area on River Street 212, and
You live at
I'm-
212 River? You're saying you live at 212 River Street?
yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's pretty close to this area. I would like to support to this project. I see that that area needs to be renovated. It has old style houses, which doesn't support to looks better our town. I don't see any problem in 3 single-family house at that area. I saw a previous project. It was 6 houses, as I remember. It was a little bit huge, but 3, it's much more than enough. It's a very beautiful project. It's I like it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see another hand, but again, if someone from the public wants to speak while this is still open, raise your hand and I'll come to you. But for now, I'm going to take it into the committee. Do we have any hands up? Councilor Lucas.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Morris, welcome back. So I think you mentioned something earlier in your presentation about a neighborhood meeting. Did you have one?
I said we did have one, yes,
Okay, when was it?
over a week ago.
A week ago.
Right.
Okay,
But prior to that, we had sent out electronic files of the plans back in February.
yeah, and what was the response from the?
I got a
neighborhood?
response from one person, Brenda McGovern,
Which was,
which was an email basically saying she liked the look.
she liked the look?
Yes.
Okay,
She was also in attendance. She was also in attendance at the neighborhood meeting.
okay, and that neighborhood meeting was, I guess, on,
Week ago Monday,
and it was on site at the,
correct.
right there in River
Correct.
Street. Okay, all right. Was Counselor Block there?
Yes, he was.
Okay, he's nodding his head. I just wanted to make sure.
And the other board 4 councils were also invited.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, we're
He
not,
showed up.
yeah. Counselor Block, way to go.
Points.
So, let's see. I don't know where to be. So you said that you want to do permeable pavers and not have any pavement anywhere on site, correct?
No, I said permeable driveway.
Permeable driveway.
That's different from permeable pavers.
My mistake. So it's going to be a permeable driveway everywhere on site, no impervious surface. Do I have that
is
correct?
That is correct.
That is correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, Terry, sorry, Mr. Morris, can you just repeat that? Because they're not at the mic.
Alex Cogan, the asphalt portion will be permeable. So with permeable asphalt, that will actually penetrate water and will not cause runoffs.
And there's no impervious pavement on site.
What are the walkways made out of?
With concrete pavers.
Those are impermeable.
So
Impermeable. So the
So-
driveway surface will be permeable. The walkway surface, which overall will be less, is impervious.
Impervious. Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
that's the
Okay.
plan. But we can take, if the committee insists that that be permeable, we can do those, we can make those out of grass paper.
Okay, thank you. And is that referenced in the site plan?
It's not referenced on the, because that recommendation came up after the memo came out.
Okay, so my question would be to, I guess, planning and law. The draft council order references a site plan. I just want to be sure if we need to have a new site plan submitted, or can this be resolved with a condition?
Hey, Counselor Lucas, I think similar to the Bellevue project we discussed earlier, we can add a condition requiring that the driveway material be of permeable materials.
And that will supersede the site plan?
Yeah, I would say it complements the site plan, but yes, it would govern.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. What are you doing for lighting on the site? You should probably just remain standing.
So we were planning to comply with the zoning, not have any light travel outside of we don't have a lighting plan at the moment, but we weren't planning to ask for any relief.
No surface lighting.
No surface lighting.
No, all the lighting is on the houses, no surface lighting.
Okay, no surface lighting. All right. And I think we saw from the parking, each unit is 2 cars and it allows for guest parking.
Correct.
All right.
In the driveways.
Yes, right there in the driveways. See, no retaining walls. I'm just looking at my notes. I guess that's all I have for now. I do think that, I take that back. I do think that the driveway area could be narrowed a little bit more. There's a lot of space in there. But
It is 12 foot.
Yeah.
It's actually it's actually a solution that has been used for years, and that is a 16-foot wide area that can be driven on for emergency vehicles, 12 foot of the pervious, driveway, and 4-foot walkway that are companion. It's shown that it's distinguished on the site plan, you can see. So we try to achieve the best of both worlds. We have 12 foot of driveway, so to speak, but we have a 4-foot walkway adjacent to it that is not separated by a curb, that could be driven on for emergency vehicles.
Okay, so the driveway area is 12 feet wide. The walkway is 4 feet wide.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Maybe it was from a different rendering that I saw, the 3D bird's eye view that I saw looked a little big, but all right, it's only 12 feet. So, and then the landscaping for the site in the planning memo, let me just read from it. It says the landscape plan indicates that some grass pavers will be used on site. The petitioner should clarify the extent of the area that will be covered in grass pavers, and planning recommends the petitioner utilize permeable paving on site when possible. Are you using grass pavers where you have grass?
So the current plan was for patios to use grass pavers, but we can certainly use those for the walkway around the driveway as well.
I'm sorry, can you
So
say
the
that again, please?
patios in the rear of each building, those are grass pavers.
The little square things.
Oh, where your cursor is,
Yeah.
okay. That's gonna be grass paver?
Grass pavers.
Okay,
But they're saying that they could also do the walkways
Also
in that
do the
material.
walkway, that's basically the walkway along the driveway, as well as the walkway in the front, for the front building.
do you have a rendering of your grass paver?
Yeah, I'll bring.
Thank you. Oh, there it is. Okay.
That would be the patio surface?
All right, okay. I mean, it's pervious. Yeah, all right, I don't, all right, I was just,
It's a concrete paver that has a
yeah,
feet space and the grass just. points
yeah. All right, I'm not gonna be picky on that. If it's the will of the committee, it's the will of the committee. I'm not, all right. I think that's all I have for now. Wait, what's the size of each home?
I said 2,400 square feet of living space,
Oh.
no basements.
24, okay, all right, thanks, all set.
Thank you, Counselor Lucas. Counselor Block, followed by Counselor Downs.
Thank you, Chair. Wasn't realizing I was up next.
You are.
Mr. Morris, nice to see you again.
You as well, Counselor.
Thank you for your outreach to the neighborhood. I appreciate that. I think they do too, even though many have reservations regarding this project. Directed to the planning department, I'm curious about what side setback means in a configuration like this. What are the metrics that we should be looking at for the distances between these buildings? And I can't really read, I mean, the numbers are pretty small on the version that I'm looking at, so maybe you have them.
Counselor Block, is your question about the distance between the homes from each other or the setbacks from the property lines?
Well, it's, I guess I'd say I'm most interested in the distances, but within this development, not to the property lines, but from one building to the next, and what they ought to be. And does this meet those requirements? I gather this lot is not going to be subdivided. This is going to remain a single lot with some condominium agreement. So what passes for the setback or distance requirements, if any? Maybe we don't have any. What
Planning could address that, or the developer probably could. As
well,
far as-
either one. Happy to hear from.
My guess is that there are best practices and not rules and laws about this, because setbacks are really measured from property lines. And that's within this, there's no separation like that.
Point taken.
Mr. Morris, do you want to address
The
it?
building code provides for minimum setbacks. I believe it's 5 feet at least.
Hmm.
But that's the only requirement I know between buildings.
And I'm looking at the site plan between buildings A and B. There's a measurement which I can't read.
We'll bring it up. Blow it up. Blow it up. Between which two?
Between A and B, the one in the front and the one in the middle looks, I just can't read it. Is that a 9-1?
9 feet
Okay, that helps. And so it's probably a similar distance between buildings B and C, sort of the edge of the porch to the edge of the garage. Similar over there. You don't have a measurement there, but it looks similar. So it is the layout that's unusual. One of the butters mentioned that. I don't recall seeing a layout like this on any other property. So, Mr. Morris, what do you say about that?
I say, Councilor Block, that in your ward, Ward 4, on 148 Pine Street, you will find a 3-unit development that was approved by changing one non-conforming use to another for 3 single-family houses on an 18,000 square foot lot several years ago. I represented the client in that petition. So the idea that it has never been done before, I think, is not exactly
Well,
true.
He's
I
asking
did-
about the alignment too,
I
not
didn't-
just
The
the,
alignment obviously is meant to, I think the planning department comments positively on the alignment, basically saying that the configuration going up the lot minimizes the massing presentation on the street. That's in the memo.
I appreciate your referencing the planning department's memo, but that's, I'll have to take a look at 140 Pine Street. I'm not familiar with it.
On
I'm not
140.
saying there's never been 3 structures placed on a single parcel. It's unusual, and
Yes, it is.
the arrangement just looks awkward. I'm not saying it won't work.
Counselor, if I could say, as I said in my presentation, perhaps it's worth repeating, it's largely a discussion of you are basically creating the dimensional and standard controls here because there are none for a situation in which you're putting more than one single family house on a lot. And so what we designed to and what the planning department recognizes is that we comply with all of the setbacks, front, side, and rear. We comply with the lot coverage. We're actually well below the lot coverage, and we comply with all of them. There's not one that we're asking for. So that's really the frame of reference in which you should evaluate the site plan.
So building C in the rear is, the topography rises toward the rear. So how tall is building C as seen from River Street sidewalk?
Well, the building itself on unit 3 is 35.5 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the existing grade? As you go up James Street, that street rises, and the houses on James Street, as you get higher up in the street, are higher than they look from River Street as well. So I don't know exactly where you're coming from with the question. And there are houses on the street, the next street over, above that.
Yes, I understand. Well, how will this all look, I guess, is what is behind my question. This building C is going to rise higher than building B and A. Am I correct about that?
yes.
We can show it 3 different ways. There's one way to look at it right there. There's the profile.
I'm sorry. Was looking at my desk and not at the screen. Sorry. Show again, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, tell me what we're looking at. So here you can see where River Street is shown,
Yeah.
and then you see the first building, and then the second building
Mm-hmm.
as we go up the hill,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see the third building.
Okay.
Now, if you back it out so we can see the homes behind it, you can see that Mr. Hamlin's home is at least as high as this house. If you're looking from River Street.
That's on, well, his house is on
It's on
James Street, is that right?
Yeah, but we're working with the same hill. One has a
Well,
driveway.
unless
and
you
the other
find
has
a new
one
hill
has a
there,
street, James Street, and the other has a driveway.
Okay, Mr. Morris, I'm gonna stop right now and
Can
see
you
what
keep
my
that up for a
colleagues.
second, Phil?
Top is located on Whitlow Road. That house at the top of Whitlow Road. That's how the neighborhood is built out.
I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna let my colleagues reflect on this.
When you had shown earlier, before we move on to Councilor Downs, when Mr. Hanlon was talking, he was concerned about the Unit C being pushed far back into the neighborhood, but you had showed a plan like this or a photograph or a rendering that it looked to me like there were lots of trees around it, not neighborhood. Is that accurate? All those trees behind this rather than homes? So it's not butting up right against other homes.
They're off-site, yes.
Yeah. It looks like it's sort of abutting the woods, not homes in the rear. So you wouldn't really see Mr. Hanlon's home. You wouldn't really see the other houses up beyond this because it's wooded. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to be sure we were all understanding how this looks at the same time. Councillor Block, are you set for now?
Well, for now, I'm not sure that this is an accurate reflection of what exists today, but I take your point, Chair.
Mr. Hanlon's house is the one in the upper right-hand corner, right there.
Oh, okay. Let's go to Councillor Downs and we'll come back to you, Councillor Block. It's your ward anyway. I'll have you do the closing work and I'll get to you after Councillor Downs will be President Laredo. Councillor Downs.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Just have one comment, and that's on those concrete grass pavers. How will those work for when you're clearing snow on a walkway?
Typically, there's no grass. You cut it short for the season, for the winter season, and you should be able to use a snow. You're not supposed to use a plow over the pavers or any whether it's concrete or grass pavers. So you can only plow the asphalt portion, and you would have to either shovel or use a snow blower.
And if you're using pervious pavement for the asphalt area,
No issues.
you'll,
No issues with the plow.
yeah, but you will have to occasionally vacuum that, I understand. Otherwise, it stops being pervious.
Correct.
Colleagues, I know these have been used in driveways in my neighborhood and they look great. But I wouldn't want to be too strict on exactly where the grass concrete pavers go, just because I think that I haven't seen them on a walkway and I'm not sure how well they'll work. And I'd want to give these guys a little bit of flexibility in how they make it pervious. That's my only comment. Thanks.
Actually, Mr. Morris had a point. So the grass pavers could be utilized without the grass. So you can use pea stone inside the grass paver, which will still make it pervious and permeable, but not necessarily have grass that needs to be maintained, and especially during the snow season.
Yeah, I think the grass is nicer looking, and of course, once you start using pea stone, you might as well go for a gravel walk, and that's also got its issues. As I know, my neighbors have a gravel driveway, and I'm always raking the gravel out of my grass, but that's between the condo owners and their landscaper. Thanks.
Thank you. President Laredo.
So I'm certainly not going to weigh in on the pros and cons of grass pavers on a sidewalk leading up to someone's house. And I really, collectively, colleagues, hope we can give a petitioner some discretion as to that kind of stuff. Let's put it in perspective. We're not going to change the stormwater discharge issues by, a few feet of asphalt versus grass pavers, and it may be difficult to shovel, so forth. I am, though, I want to really focus on what I think are the bigger issues here. So number one, is that picture that was shown to us true and accurate? And I want planning to answer that question for me, please.
With the woods behind that one?
With all of the green space behind the third unit, is that actually the existing condition? And is it reasonable to believe that it's going to stay that way because it's, city land or some other land that can't be built on?
Kat, can you answer that?
Can you show us what area you're talking about? I think some of the images shown tonight are the first time we're seeing them, such as the renderings. So I'm not sure which area you're referring to.
Alex, can you pull that one back up?
Pull it up. So this actually from Google Maps.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Sorry. So this is from Google Maps. Currently, this is live. This is the satellite image. And the rendering that the architects have used relied on the bird's eye view.
And that land that's behind the lot, is it privately owned? Is it government land?
It's privately owned by James Street owner. It cuts back through here. And I believe Mr. Hamlin's property is right here.
Okay. So they have looks like a pretty large lot of land there.
The house next to Mr. Hanlon's, just south of Mr. Hanlon's lot, has a very deep lot, I think, which you've just
So
referenced.
I've got a general question for planning here. You know, this really, to me, looks like a rear lot subdivision, or should be a rear lot subdivision. We do approve those, I think, fairly regularly. Why isn't that a more appropriate use for this site? Rather than trying to, I mean, basically what you're doing here for all practical purposes is you're dividing up a site into 3 separate lots with a common driveway. So I'm asking planning why a rear lot subdivision is really not more appropriate here.
I think when we evaluate the merits of each petition to opine on, again, we look at the criteria for each petition and whether it fits. And I think Ms. Kemet did a really good job of outlining all of the zoning dimensional standards for the single residence 3 zone against each of these buildings. So in that case, when we saw how it stacked up against the prescribed standards, they all just happen to be on the same 21,000 square foot lot. As Mr. Morris stated, 7,000 is required for the underlying zone. If we had a petition for a rear lot subdivision, we would certainly look at the merits of that. There's additional criteria for a rear lot subdivision as well as additional filing requirements. So we really react to what's in front of us.
No, I understand that. And you are, of course, only supposed to evaluate what's in front of us. But what I'm thinking about is, in many ways, this is akin to a rear lot subdivision, even I know it's not one. I'll leave it at that. I'm trying to think this one through. Thank you.
Council Laredo, it's not big enough for a rear lot subdivision. You need 20.
Well, that's
you need 22,000.
exactly my point, Attorney Morris.
You're so close.
No, that's before, it used to be 20, but you increased it to 12 because of the requirement of having a flagpole.
That's my point when you're trying to put 3 units on a lot that we would not allow for a rear lot subdivision. So I'll leave it. Thanks.
A few hundred square feet short. Ms. Belleville. Ms. Belleville, do you want to have your hand up?
Yes, I did. President Laredo's comment was spot on with where my head was, because I'm thinking, okay, this is not single family detached. This looked more like a rear lot subdivision, or whatever the right term is. And it just question, does this set, if this gets accepted, does this set precedent for some new categorization that's not a single family detached, but it's not a rear lot subdivision? So it just seems odd. I think I think it looks fine, but I just feel like it's kind of taking on new territory in zoning. Thanks.
They are single family detached.
Thank you, Ms. Belleville. Councillor Black. are you ready to go at this again? Or not? I think we,
I'm ready to go home.
we're at the end of our night. No more hands are raised. You should have the last word. It's your ward. You should make a motion. Or while you're still thinking, Counselor Leary would like to say
Yes,
something.
yes, let's hear from council.
So I think there's been a lot of improvements made here. I had a lot of trouble with the prior submissions. I was wondering if this is going to be any kind of a condo association.
I'm sorry, what was
Is
the
this-
question?
Are you going to have a condo association here?
Yes. Or
Okay.
homeowners association.
Homeowners association?
Yeah.
So things like routine stuff would be taken care of, such
That
as
is
snow
correct.
removal or how
That
it
is
looks
correct.
from the street, all that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. That's, I have to say, I think it's a pretty good, development. I would prefer it was smaller. But I don't agree, you have here three families in single family, total of 3 families in 3 single family homes, which is generally what people like here. But I understand what Mr. Hanlon was saying about maybe more compact for family, but that's not what we have before us right now. So I don't really have any other questions. And I do believe that we've heard some of the neighbors. The only one that I've heard who was opposed to it is Mr. Hanlon. And he's not even a direct abutter. There's a direct abutter number 22 that we haven't heard from, as far as I know. So I understand, we do have a housing crisis, and we do want to encourage young families to move to Newton. So I think this would fit the bill for that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the effort that's gone into it, and also your efforts to reduce, to make it greener as well. Are these all electric buildings, by the way?
Yes.
I asked that.
Yeah.
I assume it is, but I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure,
It is.
because that's really the way that we've been going. And you'll have EV charging stations for cars and things like that. It's almost like it's kind of nice that that's really what we expect now and what developers are doing, as opposed to even 5 years ago, it wasn't common. We've really moved the needle in that direction. So I'm happy to see more green homes also being built. So thank you.
Thank you.
While Councillor Block is still formulating his final plan, I'll just say a couple of things. I agree overall with what Councillor Leary said. I think you guys have gone through a lot of changes and been very responsive in this, and I like this plan best. I like there are no retaining walls. I like the bettered stormwater drainage management system. Much better than existing or than before. I think the size of the units is pretty good. I think they could be a little smaller, but I'm not going to stick on that. I don't want to micromanage the project. Also, as Councilor Laredo pointed out, I'd like to have us just put in the conditions that the surfaces will be permeable, and you can figure that out later. And I'm happy to talk with you later. I do think there will be some problems with the grass pavers, but that's not for us to decide here tonight. But I like that you're willing to go permeable. I like it's all electric. I will be voting in favor, and I hope that we'll be getting to a motion in a minute. Councilor Block.
I'm curious about let me just say, Google Maps, Google Photos, Lord knows when they were actually taken, that they're not taken in real time, all the time. So I don't know how often they're updated, but that Google Map could be from a year ago, 2 years ago. And on site, I did not really look carefully at the rear of the site, and I am curious, Madam Chair, you kind of asked questions about it. I think everyone's interested in how this will all look and how this will all affect abutters, how important is it to verify the kind of tree canopy that exists today on this site?
So the picture that we just saw on the Google Maps, it's within the last year because that's when we cleared up some of the trees. If you look at the site, Alex, you want to show?
Yeah, well,
There is a date on the map as well.
Yeah, no, there is, but you will see that where the houses next to it, there are trees and we're clearing it up for the demo.
These trees were removed.
Yeah, so you see it's within a year.
It was last summer,
so this is what it looks like today.
without this house.
Without the house, I understand the house is gone. I'm aware of that.
You could send a drone over tomorrow to see. You can go up and take a look. Probably if we were there today, it wouldn't look like this because the trees haven't leafed out yet and most of this looks deciduous. So it depends on the time of year you go there,
Yes,
but
I think that's probably why I'm asking myself, and you're hearing me out loud reflect on this. All right, Madam Chair, I'll move to close the public hearing and move to approve.
thank you, Councillor Block. Mr. Morse, did you need to say something or would you like us to move forward with these?
Oh, I guess I should wait. I should accept that and just sit.
I think so. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye. Aye. Councillor Downs, did I hear you?
That was an aye.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion before us. Let's look at the findings and conditions, and please do add one about all pavement to be permeable without specifying the material.
Hi, can you hear me? This is Kat.
Yes, thank you, Kat.
Great. Okay, so for findings, we have one, the site and structures proposed are in an appropriate location for the 3 single-family dwellings because each dwelling sited on the lot will comply with many of the applicable standards for single-family residences in the district, including height, setbacks, open space, and lot coverage. 2, the proposed project will not adversely affect the neighborhood because new plantings will be added along the street frontage and perimeter of the site, minimizing the visual impact of the additional unit. The size of the lot with 3 dwellings is comparable to the requirements for individual lots with single-family homes. As designed, the units are similar in size and scale to other residential structures nearby. 3, the proposed project will not create a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians because all required parking will be accommodated on site, and the 3 units share a driveway, minimizing the amount of curb cuts. Access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. And 5, the proposed residential use, which is non-conforming with 3 single-family dwellings, will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming 2-family use is to the neighborhood because the area features a variety of uses and residences with varying sizes and scales. And for conditions, we have the plan referencing with the site plan, architectural plans, and the landscape plan. Haven't added in yet that condition related to the permeable paving, but we have that noted down to add in before this goes to full committee. Prior to issuance of a building permit, we will require an operations and management plan for stormwater. It will be required to remediate pest and rodent activity. A construction management plan will be required. And for building permit conditions, we'll need a certified copy of the special permit, the operations and management plan, construction management plan, pest control report, and planning will review. And for occupancy, similar pathway, we will require a statement from an architect or professional engineer and land surveyor or professional engineer certifying that it complies with the plans approved. We'll want the as-built plans and a statement from a registered landscape architect, review from engineering, and we will review the final location and number of plant materials and landscaping, and all landscaping will need to be maintained in good condition. And those are the conditions and findings.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Abstain.
Counselor Laredo.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Good night, gentlemen.
Thank you for the time and energy you've devoted to us, especially this hour.